Annie Fry, Ryan Wiggins, Brad Rain.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
For goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
So excited to be with you today. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. I guess it's the Manny Fry Show again. This is 2 days in a row of that. Ryan Wiggins, how are you?
Yes, doing good. Had a good weekend. How about you?
Great. Brad, keeping the show on track. Thank you for that, sir.
Doing my best.
Yep. We have a YouTube live chat poll today. I think kind of plays in with the question I want to ask you. But what is it? If someone were to watch the YouTube feed right now and vote, what's the question?
The question today is do you support Trump blocking all bills until the Save America Voter ID Act passes? And it's just a simple yes or no. You can go vote on YouTube, youtube.com/@AnnieFry. And the poll will be right there for you to vote. Or you can text us at 314-241-9797, and Ryan will be monitoring those texts, and we'll read your text on the air if you got a good comment on it.
Okay. Here's the question I want to start the show with. And by the way, Jared Halpern's going to join us from Fox News Radio, White House correspondent, here in about 15 minutes or so. What's the bigger story right now? President Trump saying, I'm not going to sign anything until the SAVE Act is put through, or the Iran conflict. Which one's bigger?
Iran right now is bigger, I think, just because it's so much more immediate. The SAVE Act is something that does need to happen, but it's going to take a little bit longer to play out.
Okay. Brad, which one do you think is a bigger story?
Yeah, I'm with Wiggins on this one. I think Iran is still the biggest story out there. I mean, it's a war. They just announced today revealed the idea of a seventh service member who passed away in this war. Mm-hmm. And, so there are Americans that are dying. The global economy is being affected by it. So that's a big story. And on the flip side of that, I don't know really what pieces of legislation are actually being pushed through at this point.
Okay. Well, let's look at this, because there are some things in Washington, D.C., especially when it comes to funding Homeland Security. But let me point this out, because I was listening a little bit before the show to Brian Kilmeade, and he was talking to some of the experts, and they say everyone that he's spoken to believes that Iran will be fully collapsed within 2 weeks. And I thought to myself, okay, if that is true, like let's say hypothetically, we're not going to let our foot off the gas until there is a complete surrender, unconditional surrender, one that we can actually, back up by destroying anything that they would be able to use if they lied to us. And let's say the SAVE Act becomes the top priority in Washington, D.C. right now, and that actually gets through. Wouldn't that have longer, I guess, a lasting effect, or would Iran not being an immediate threat have a longer lasting effect?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the more immediate domestic impact that we would notice, well, maybe with gas prices, but other than that, I don't think we would notice that much. We will notice the Save America Act because it will affect elections. Although I said it probably won't even affect this coming election because it would be implemented
really
too late to get in place by this election. So I still think we're still talking about Iran being the bigger story.
Right. Okay. U.S. Energy Chief says the spike in gas prices will fall before too long. Do you believe that too? Because I don't know what the gas is where you're at. Here in the Detroit area where I'm located, it's about $3.55 a gallon. Not great, but, we're going back to Biden times here. What's it at, roughly speaking, in St. Louis?
So it's about $3.
Yeah, I was driving in this morning. It was
almost
$2.99.
exactly $3 here. But if you cross the river into Illinois, where me and Brad are, it's about $3.40.
Ooh, yeah. We got Illinois prices up in Michigan.
Yeah. And
it's only going up. So I thought about when first the tariffs hit in the United States and what happened to the stock market. You saw a couple of weeks where we're like, oh boy, this ain't going to work out. And then eventually when some of the tariffs started to lift, or there was an ease and there were some agreements that came through, almost immediately, the slide whistle went the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. When the Iran thing's going on, we see the price of a barrel of oil going above $100. It's what's 110, 111. I forgot where it was the last time I checked. but you saw the price of the stock market start to go, but then now it's pretty much stable today. You notice it's almost even. It didn't have that big immediate drop in the stock market. To me, indicates when you look at Wall Street that they're not expecting this to go as long as the tariff war went on. I think they're expecting this to get worked out.
Well, we did have a drop in the stock market today, but it has bounced back too. It was down almost 700 points at one point, and now it's up to just down about 300 points.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's we've had a drop today, and it's because of gas prices. But let me float a theory here as to what's going to happen with gas prices, because every major news outlet over the weekend that I saw was almost giddy to report gas prices being up. You know, they thought this is going to be great. We can run with this all weekend. It's something that's immediate, something that hurts Trump. Let's go for it. But I think this is going to backfire because what I see happening with Iran and with the Strait of Hormuz and with Saudi Arabia and OPEC especially is that OPEC has decided to ramp up production as of last week. So we should be seeing that real soon.
Oh yeah.
In the market. It'll balance out the market, but also the Strait of Hormuz is open. The shippers just don't want to use it right now because they're afraid of it. Yeah. So Trump is yelling at him going, you grow a spine and use the Strait of Hormuz. It's open. The Iranian Navy's gone. You might as well use it. And so I think all these things are going to converge at the same time. And yeah, we'll see this spike right now, but within, I don't know how long, we'll say week or two, you could see it drop precipitously, where it's even lower than before because you had the increase in OPEC.
Did you guys see the thing about the insurance for ships going through the Strait of Hormuz?
Mm-hmm. So originally last week. But.
Yeah, what was it? Lloyd's of London is one of the only companies that are able to insure those ships, and then Lloyd's was like, we're not going to insure ships going through that strait because of the whatever situation. And apparently Donald Trump ordered the United States to then insure those ships. And Lloyd's of London blinked, and they said, no, we're going to continue to insure those ships.
Okay, well, that's good. You know, remember this was maybe 5 years ago. There was issues on the Mississippi where you had some of these different bards coming through, and people were taking pot shots at them. And they're like, stop trying to shoot these shipping vessels that are coming through the Mississippi, particularly when you get through downtown St. Louis and south of downtown is where you saw a lot of it happening. Imagine if you're going through there, you're probably feeling very nervous if you're someone on that boat that's going through there in the shipping lane right now, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to be going through there right now, but I also get where Trump's coming from and saying, look, we've secured it, but until it always takes the first person or two to go through and think, oh, it's actually okay, and then everybody kind of gets comfortable with it again.
But doesn't that kind of prove why we need to have a stable Iran and not some crazy people that are in charge there? Because what would it have taken that, like if we didn't launch this attack and they just decided to shut down shipping there, there's not a whole lot we could have done without assets in that area.
Oh, yeah. You know, I love Charles Payne, and he's a fantastic analyst. I think we had him on the show once, and I was starstruck. I was giddy like a schoolgirl. But Charles Payne broke this down, and basically what you're saying, Ryan Wiggins, is this manipulation that's going on. Can we play clip number 7?
We don't have an oil problem. And I think that Secretary Wright was trying to explain that. This is all speculation. This is all, you can almost argue, manipulation. This is what they call geopolitical risk. There's no formula for it. It could be an extra $10. It could be an extra $20. It could be an extra $30. So when you have a move like that, that's not based on fundamentals per se, it could be parabolic, which it is, through the roof. But when parabolic moves like that die down, they usually come down just as fast. So
come down just as fast. Let's say, hypothetically, we start to get things back to normal after we hit this speed bump. This rocket up, rocket down stuff. This is, crazy influx of what's going on. I look at it kind of like tariffs, and I guess we can go and deep dive the effects of tariffs in the long run. But the effects of not having to worry about Iran in the long run will be so detrimental to us having a secure future in a lot of different ways. There's a huge payoff involved. There's a huge risk, but a huge payoff involved with Iran getting taken care of now.
Yeah, there certainly is. Everybody knows the relationship that they have with China and the fact that they supply a lot of oil. But I think it's beyond that. We don't talk about the fact that for the last plus 20 years, probably even longer, Iran has been, and everybody knows it, the main funder of terror in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we've just kind of let it happen. We've fenced it in, but we've never really dealt with it.
Yeah.
And now it looks like Trump is dealing with it. And it makes you wonder if this, I'm not saying this is the right route, but if it ends up being that this does, become a great move and Iran gets stabilized and the government changes and now they're, if not our ally, they're at least not adversarial, and we stop a major funder of worldwide terror, well, the question will become, why wasn't anybody willing to do this before Trump?
Yeah. And was it worth the, 60 days of discomfort or 30 days or whatever, how long it takes? Was it worth that discomfort? And I think we'll only know that when hindsight's 2020, when we can go back and look at all of this. But certainly it's a big risk that the Trump administration is taking right now. And you know what? It also has the potential to be great reward. So I know we'll talk more about this throughout the course of the show. Maybe this is something Jared Halpern could talk about. He's a White House correspondent for Fox News Radio. We hope to have him join the show coming up here in about 5 minutes. I'm Ryan Recker filling in for Annie Fry on 97.1 FM Talk.
DayMen'sHealth.com. Sometimes it seems all lawmakers do is tax and spend. That's why Missouri voters passed the Hancock Amendment in 1980 to place a limit on what the government can do with your money. But the Hancock Amendment is outdated. It hasn't provided a taxpayer refund since 1999 and probably won't without reform. That's why Missouri needs a taxpayer Bill of Rights. Colorado has one, and taxpayers there have received more than $8 billion in refunds. It's simple. There should be limits on government spending and refunds when there's a surplus in the state budget. A taxpayer Bill of Rights constitutional amendment would help limit the growth of government. Missouri's budget has nearly doubled in the past 5 years, yet the state lags far behind states like Colorado in economic growth. The Hancock Amendment was supposed to protect taxpayers. Now it's time for an update and a taxpayer Bill of Rights. After all, it's your money. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
This is the Annie Fry Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
And welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. Joining us now from Fox News Radio, White House correspondent Jared Halpern. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
I'll tell you that there's a lot on President Trump's plate right now. You have Iran, and of course, the pressures with gas and supply chain issues. The SAVE Act, hey, saying that he's not going to sign anything until that SAVE Act gets to him. He's going up against AI and Anthropic and saying, hey, get this stuff off your military phones. You have Secretary Noem be reassigned. There's so many different things on his plate right now. This reminds me of the first administration where there was like 10 different storylines you could cover at any time.
Well, and also today, midterm elections, the House Republicans, they're having their kind of annual, maybe they do it more than once a year, but their kind of annual messaging retreat. It's to get everybody on the same page. Now heading into the midterm elections, President Trump will address that group this afternoon as well. And I think that's worth paying attention to, just as we've seen now a lot of polls show Republicans facing a lot of strong headwinds heading into November. President Trump's popularity is at some of its lowest levels. He has lost support from some of the base over Iran and these other issues. Obviously, gas prices are one that the president's going to be mindful of, because that's an underlying condition for cost across the board, right? When it costs more to put stuff on trucks and move it across the country, that increases the price of everything that is shipped. And today, the G7 leaders, which President Trump is a member of, unanimously decided against those countries tapping into their strategic reserves. And President Trump so far has been unwilling, at least at this stage, to tap into the strategic petroleum reserve. He has indicated he thinks this is going to be a short-term bump in prices. He says that it's a small price to pay for what's happening in Iran. We'll see the longer this goes on if Americans agree with that assessment that it's a small price to pay.
Yeah. Can I just, as a different reporters, talk about how surprised they are that he's still accessible to them when they have questions? It seems like he's the only president that'll actually answer questions, sometimes even directly in phone calls from media. Yeah. And everything that's going on, I thought, okay, if there was a time where you didn't have to pick up the phone, this would be it. He's got a lot of things going on. So I don't understand, honestly, how the guy can juggle all these things at one time, because there's so many different things to cover.
I think that the phone calls are interesting because that seems to be a deliberate messaging strategy. We've not seen, for instance, the president give an evening address, a primetime address explaining why he ordered U.S. airstrikes on Iran, right? Sometimes you would see a president say, listen, here's why I ordered it. Here's what we're aiming to do. Here are our objectives. And once that's done, we're going to send everybody home. Instead, they have offered these rationales, these kind of decision-making explanations through these interviews. So you read, what he told, CNN, and then you read what he told Brett Baer, and you read what he told, any number of reporters. And I think part of that is kind of understanding that the media landscape is not what it used to be. I don't believe that this is a White House that believes they get as much bang for their buck as predecessors did, having that big primetime Oval Office address to the nation. Here's why we're doing this, and here's what we aim to do.
Yeah. Going back to Iran, I was listening to Brian Kilmeade, your colleague, right before. He has this radio program, and he was talking about how when he goes to D.C. and he talks to his insiders that they're expecting Iran's leadership to collapse within 2 weeks. They think it'll be, there's really not a lot of gas left in this. No pun intended, I guess. But is that kind of what you're hearing? Do you feel like the Trump administration is looking at this and saying this is going to be a short time pain, not something we're going to be involved with for years, like Russia and Ukraine, something they thought would end quickly, but would drag out?
Well, I think there was an expectation that perhaps this could be like a Venezuela situation. Obviously, it is not. These are different countries. The regime in Tehran is much more entrenched. It is a much larger organization, obviously. But, we saw just today the new supreme leader has been announced. It is the previous supreme leader's son. He is viewed as, believe it or not, more of a hardliner than his father. And so I think that raises questions about what this post-conflict looks like. President Trump has said that this is not a regime change war, but over the last several days has made clear that the United States and he personally will play a role in choosing who now leads Iran. They've not been real clear about kind of a figure that they are looking to, although the president says a few of them have been killed. I think that there are still lingering questions about what role the United States would play. President Trump, in an interview today with NBC, said that he doesn't believe at this point U.S. Ground troops would be needed to secure oil facilities in Iran, but has not ruled that out. Does the leadership make a calculation in that, right? If it's like a Delcy Rodriguez situation, I suppose that's less likely than if it is somebody who presents more instability. And that's the other question, too. Is there going to be a power grab between a lot of different forces in Iran, right? Maybe you have multiple anti-regime groups that kind of have a power grab. Again, because there's not an organized opposition. Nobody can point to the opposition leader in Iran, right? Because the opposition has been stamped out over 50 years. So a lot of those opposition leaders are not in the country. They are in exile. What kind of leadership or buy-in would they have from the Iranian people who have been leading these protests? So I know that the hope is that this is a quick operation. Every commander-in-chief wants these operations to be quick, but there are still a lot of questions about what the future of Iran looks like. Are they willing to, make concessions? So far, they don't seem to be willing to do that, but we also know that their military has taken a beating. The number of missiles and drones they've been able to fire off have been reduced significantly over the last week. And so that is certainly, the expectation from the president is that this is moving faster than they had planned for. And the initial plan was kind of 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, I will say the toughest, probably hardest job in the world is being president of the United States. The worst job in the world right now is supreme leader of Iran. I don't know why you would want to be a successor.
I mean, it's remarkable to me that, and maybe it was hubris or bad intel on the Iranians' part, but the ease with which the Israelis and Americans were able to kind of hone in and then have a successful strike, knowing what the tensions were. I don't know a lot about the son. He's now the supreme leader. I imagine the security around him is going to be different than it was for his father. But again, that's why it raises questions. Is he like a supreme leader in name? Does he have the same type of loyal base that his father has? There has been some intelligence to suggest he does not. So do you see an uprising from within? What about the Iranian Guard Corps? That is a very strong organization. Do you look to somebody in that, or in that group to lead Iran? A lot of questions, and whether or not the United States wants to play a role in that, given obviously, I think a lot of skepticism about the U.S. role in that part of the world over the last couple of decades.
Yep, at Jared Halpern on Twitter X, Fox News Radio, White House correspondent Jared Halpern. I always enjoy the conversation. There's a lot going on. I can't imagine what it's like when you're trying to get your assignment for the day because you have no idea where they're going to send you. It could go anywhere.
It's usually just like follow the president today, and you you just let the news happen, and you try your best to keep up and report it. We're blessed to have a large, robust team that's keeping an eye on everything, because between X and social, the Truth Social, and the interviews that the president seems to be doing now on an hourly basis with colleagues, I'm glad there's a lot of eyes on this to kind of make sure that we have everything covered.
By the way, the title of Chapter 1 for your autobiography, Let the News Happen. It's a fantastic way to explain it, and you explain it well. Jared Halpern, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it. There is a lot going on in this world today, and 3 hours is not a lot of time to cover it all, but we will do our best here on the Annie Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in on 97.1 FM Talk.
Today is Monday, March 9th. Welcome to it. Hope you're doing okay, especially with the time change. This is your first day back to work. The YouTube live chat poll is, do you support Trump blocking all bills until the Save America Voter ID Act passes? Yes or no? Let us know. And, of course, you can leave a comment. We'll be watching those all day as usual. It is 12:30. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry show here. And the poll is a good one. I want to talk a little bit about that because I feel with the SAVE Act and what it could represent, it seems like there's a lot of people in favor of it, but maybe, just maybe, and I know that if there's anyone to get into the weeds on something like this, it would be between you guys, Brad and Ryan. Is there anything in this bill that is objectionable? Meaning, would you say, oh, they're trying to sneak something in here that would cause someone to not want to pass it? Or Republican, perhaps.
Okay, so if you're a Democrat, I don't really know what your perspective would be because I don't really get the objections Democrats are making. The only objection I could see as a Republican, and this is more of a libertarian Republican kind of viewpoint, is that you're moving closer to a national voter ID, which is a little bit, I don't want to say Orwellian. It's tracking people more. And the libertarian wing in me even would say, I don't love that we have to go down that path, but that's the argument we return is that, well, you do have to go down that path because you have to secure the election somehow. And they're not actually making a voter ID, like a national voter database, but it's a step in that direction because you have to confirm that people are citizens, and to do so, they have to pass something at the federal level to do that. So you're kind of moving in that direction.
Yeah. Along those lines, the only thing that I can think of that a Republican wouldn't like is the step toward a federalization of the national election. Now, I know there's arguments, constitutionally speaking, that constitutional experts go back and forth on who actually has the power to regulate the elections and what the Constitution says and to what extent and all of that other stuff. And I'm certain that as soon as something like this would get passed, it'd immediately be challenged in courts and all that other stuff. As far as Democrats go, I believe that their argument is based around the thought that this would disenfranchise voters. This would make it more difficult. Like you hear them say, women, you better go know where your birth certificate is so you can prove that your maiden name is X, Y, and Z so that you can vote. If you don't have real ID, it's stuff like that, which there might be a little bit of concern with that. To me, that it seems like that's a bit of an extreme example. Same thing with like people. I don't know. It's awful. Ami Horowitz did the thing. Annie brings it up all the time where he goes to Berkeley and he asks these people, what is wrong with voter ID? And they're like, well, maybe black people wouldn't be able to get ID. And then he goes to New York City down in Brooklyn and he's like, hey, in Harlem, hey, do you know where the DMV is? Do you have ID? And these people look at him like he is an alien because it's such a ridiculous concept to think that black people wouldn't know how to get an ID or where to get one from, or that they just don't have one.
Well, yes, there's been a lot of people that point that out very quickly. Like, that's such a weird thing for you to assume that I don't have the ability to get an identification when there's about 10 different ways to do it. And it's very clearly put together. Now, can it be frustrating at times? I mean, if you show up and you're like, oh, you forgot the wrong form, you have to make a second trip somewhere. Yeah, that could be frustrating. Or if you're trying to get your birth certificate and you got to wait because the records need to be pulled at the hospital. And that takes a little bit of time, to get this stuff through the mail. No, I get that sort of thing. I think let me just put this up. And Hakeem Jeffries, this is clip number 9. Can I just say, this is like the type of fear that they put into people. Like if Hakeem Jeffries maybe is more the mainstream left when it comes to viewpoints. And when I say that, I mean, they're kind of extreme as a standard. But I would say as where the left is right now, this is pretty normal think for them. This is clip 9.
Completely and totally out of control group of people. It's the reason why we are in a DHS shutdown right now, because Republicans have refused to agree to the type of bold, transformative, meaningful, and dramatic reforms we are demanding in order for the Department of Homeland Security funding bill to move forward. And I won't go through all of the demands, much of which we've talked about repeatedly in the public, but one of those demands is keep ICE out of sensitive locations. And we've defined that as schools, houses of worship, hospitals, and polling sites. We want an explicit prohibition that ICE can go nowhere near any polling sites in the United States of America. It's one of our demands. We're not going to bend on it.
Let me just ask this. Why wouldn't they want ICE at polling sites? Just curious.
We debated that this morning, Brad and I.
Did you?
We did. We started asking, wait, why would they not want ICE at polling sites? I don't really understand, like, who would be intimidated by seeing ICE at a polling site and say, "Oh, I'm not going to go there." Then,
well, let's just walk down this with questions. Who is it that ICE targets?
People here that are in the country illegally.
Illegal immigrants. All right. They are concerned with chilling the vote of who? If ICE is out there, I always get Democrats telling me illegal aliens do not vote in the elections. So my question is for Hakeem Jeffries or any Democrat that says this, are you expecting there to be illegal aliens at the polling place? And if so, what are they doing there?
Yeah. Let me point this out. Schools, places of worship, you don't see ICE going in places like that. I mean, how many instances can you think of where they've tried to target someone inside of those buildings or the property of those? I can't think of any, honestly. I've heard of them saying that they're doing it, and then when you go research it, you realize they weren't, as in there's been people saying it's happening, but there's no actual documentation of it happening. So he's naming these things where ICE isn't going to begin with, but they put such an emphasis on the polling sites. And to me, that is telling. That means something of why they're putting the emphasis there.
Yeah, and I don't like the whole premise of what he's saying. He's saying, well, instead of sanctuary cities, we're going to create sanctuary places, which outside of an actual sanctuary of a church, I'm not sure if I could just agree with any of them. I would kind of be okay if it was just the Hakeem Jeffries Protect Churches Act. But
we'll give you that. Let's reopen the government.
I don't think we're going to get that from them for some reason. I think they're just trying to create little sanctuary cities within cities. And then expand that. They'll start with just a church or just a school, and then they'll expand it to other places and other places, just because they want to protect illegal immigrants. And so the polling places is getting all the attention, as it should, but they're also trying something else here, which is to create more sanctuary spots within the country that are almost like not even refugee, like diplomatic centers for places where ICE can't go into for whatever reason.
Yeah. And, maybe we can fix this all. And I have a fantastic idea. If instead of worrying about all these sanctuary cities and things like that, why don't we just create a system? Maybe it could be a card where you can just prove you're a legal citizen, and then you don't have to worry about this.
Yeah. Something that has your picture on it.
Yeah. And a signature or something that proves that, it's verified that you're here legally. I mean, why don't we have a system like that where we can just, I don't know, make sure people have access to get these so they don't have to, fear this sort of thing?
Yeah.
Does that exist? Why can't we do that?
I think that you'd have to get something like that to even, for instance, sign your kid up to play t-ball or whatever.
Or fly on a plane.
Or fly on a plane.
You could even use something like this to prevent minors from purchasing cigarettes or alcohol.
Yes. Oh, I mean, think of all the applications that this little card would have and how many positive things that could happen to society if we would just have some sort of system in place that monitored and regulated these sort of things to make sure they weren't being taken advantage of or illegally created. Oh, man, that would be amazing. Why don't we do that?
That little thing that you're talking about, you wouldn't want to apply that to voting, though.
Oh, why not?
Well, we want to apply it just to important things like buying cigarettes.
Right.
We don't want to apply it to everything.
And menthol flavored vapes and things. We had that. Well, I think we got this clip. Clip number 14. Do we have that?
Yeah,
or is
we do.
Okay. Keep in mind, this debate has been going on for a while. There's been a clip circulating. with Phil Hartman on immigration. He was on Dennis Miller's program in the 1990s. Now, keep in mind, I think this was HBO, so there was swearing. So I hope that the swearing has been bleeped out, right, Ethan?
I hope so.
Okay, so Phil Hartman perhaps is one of the greatest comedians of the 1990s. I would put him up there as an A-plus level comedian. And he was on Saturday Night Live. He was on News Radio. He did a great role in that. He was The Simpsons and his voice work there. But in general, people just loved him through the 80s and 90s. Well, he was doing a talk circuit for a movie that came out, and I can't remember, I think it was like Civil War or something like that. And essentially, he was talking about immigration in the 1990s. This is fascinating. Hear what Phil Hartman has to say about it.
Is that you cannot even discuss this subject without being considered a racist in this country. And the immigration policy in the United States is the most liberal in the world. 800,000 people a year enter the United States legally, 900,000, and maybe another 200,000 or 300,000 illegally. And no other country tolerates that kind of illegal immigration or that kind of mass influx through their borders. But it's only going to heat up because we're not discussing it. Do you know that in the next 5 years, over $1 billion a year in entitlements is going to be given through Social Security to foreigners who have immigrated to this country and not put so much as a dime into the system? Ouch. Yeah, ouch.
It's going to cause a f***ing riot, Phil.
Well, that's why I'm here today to talk about the new American Nazi Party. We're not just against gypsies and homosexuals anymore.
Ask, are there countries, I mean, can I walk into like Saddam Husseinville and just start setting up a discotheque or what? I mean,
not a chance. No other country. In Japan, they have a saying, which means, no, that means you don't set foot in my country, white devil, unless you buy a 50-inch television set.
All right, that's basically the gist of it. Okay, so he goes on a little bit longer there. Can I just say one thing? One, Phil Hartman was hilarious. So he came into this with a point. Here's the statistics. He hooked you with a joke. That's why I'm here to pitch you the new American Nazi thing. Right? So he mocked it, saying this is what you make it sound like if you bring these sort of things up. And then he goes on even further, continuing to say there's no other country in the world that is more generous than the United States. But if you were to bring it up here and talk about it, then you're the one that's the problem, considered racist. This was something he brought up in the 1990s, and here we are today, and it's probably one of the most biggest things. That's all we talk about.
Yeah, it was based on some movie that he was in that I don't remember at all, that he was pitching at the time and promoting, that had to do with, I guess, immigration or illegal immigration. And he said, well, one of the reasons I took the role, and I don't know if he's funny in it. I vaguely remember the film and thinking, well, that's a weird Phil Hartman movie, but I don't know if I ever saw it. And he, but it's about that subject, and so he's obviously on with Dennis Miller, who's a buddy of his from SNL, talking about that subject, and he goes on in the extended clip, which we would play forever here, so we're not going to play the whole thing, but in the extended clip, he goes on to say that there's a reason we need to be talking about this issue, immigration and illegal immigration, right now, because if we don't, which we're not at that time, even he said, right, this is like taboo. You can't talk about this. He said, if we don't talk about this now, it's going to become a huge problem later. Amazing. I mean, yeah, come on, dude. Yeah. This is 20 years ago or more, him predicting exactly what was going to happen.
Well, he goes on. He was talking about, illegal immigrants receiving entitlements and they didn't pay a dime for it and all that other stuff. And what we've seen in the past 4 or 5 years is that's 100% accurate. It was accurate. People look at you and tell you you're crazy for saying that that's what was happening. And now we know that it did.
Yep. It's kind of interesting, too, because one of the things he mentioned, it's so weird because you go back in the 1990s and the type of jokes and the comedy, you can hear it there. It's a much different style. I don't know if a comedian would approach it the same way Phil Hartman did in the 1990s. They would say, times have changed. You're not allowed to say those sort of things anymore, right? They would bring up those sort of things. And he's saying you couldn't talk about immigration then. Now, let's fast forward to 2026. All the things that he said, as in jokes, they're saying you can't say that stuff anymore. But if you go back, that's the thing that was taboo then. Talking about immigration is the only thing people want to talk about now. It's like the streams have crossed in a way where you have to pick one or the other, but you don't. You can talk about both things and bring them up in those sort of ways. And another thing that's refreshing, someone that was, I mean, everyone knew who Phil Hartman was. He was one of the top comedians in the world. For him to talk about these sort of things with Dennis Miller on a program in a sensible type of way, you don't see that anymore. All you see is people go on and then they want to dunk on Trump and talk about him being the orange devil or whatever they say, or Cheeto, whatever. And that's their points that they make anymore for their social media gatherings. And to see a celebrity say things like that back then, I so admire that now in 2026.
Yeah, it's refreshing, and it makes you really miss Phil Hartman. Man,
yeah,
that guy.
I know.
And not just because, oh, what a good political point, but he was just so funny. I mean, everything the guy was in he was the best at whatever role he took. He was amazing.
Easily the best. All right, Wiggins America coming up after the break. I'm Ryan Reicher, filling in Annie Fry, 97.1 FM Talk.
This month, 97.1 FM Talk in Action spotlights Helmets First, a nonprofit promoting kids' safety through free bike helmets, education, and partnerships with local police. Officers help fit helmets and connect with kids in the community. Learn how you can help at helmetsfirst.com. Home Shield Foundation Repairs.com. If you have a leaky basement, water in your basement, you've experienced it maybe for the first time with all the rain that we've had set in, you've got a problem, but I do have a solution for you. That solution is at homeshieldfoundationrepairs.com. I want you to understand that when you work with somebody who is an expert, like decades-long expert of restoring your basement back to the way it's supposed to be, like first and foremost, waterproofed, of course, but even more than that, one that's secure, that's sturdy, that's going to, for the rest of time, keep that water out. You want Home Shield Foundation Repair, this local business headed up by Matt Hayes. These are the people you can trust, and many other St. Louisans on both sides of the river have trusted Matt Hayes to fix that wet basement problem that you are looking at right now. The number to call is 314-271-9900. That's 314-271-9900. Reach out to Matt Hayes and ask him to come check out that leaky basement situation that you're dealing with. HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com.
This is Madison County Clerk Linda Andreas. I believe in protecting our elections because every legal vote matters. I fully support the SAVE Act, which requires photo ID in our elections, and I am proud to be endorsed by all of our countywide Republican elected officials. I'm asking for your vote in the March 17th Republican primary.
Paid for by Citizens for Andreas.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. My best advice to you when hiring a lawyer for your injury case is simple. If you know court personnel, ask them who they'd hire. They know. If you know an insurance adjuster, ask them. They know. And then ask them about us. Ask them about Morgan & Morgan. They know. I look forward to talking to you soon. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm for the people.
Injured? Dial pound law. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-491-9914. 800-491-9914. That's 800-491-9914.
Annie Fry is St. Louis conservative.
Wiggins! Oh! Monday Roundup! Yeah! This here's the wildest ride in the wilderness!
All right, we got some pretty big stories here, and it's not just the kind of the crevices of the internet from the weekend. These are, at least the first two, are big stories.
That's a
One
fun
of them,
word.
crevices. One of them's political. The other one is the death of humankind through AI. I think we'll start with that one. Okay.
Okay.
Both of these are big, though. The first one is scientists. Well, first of all, do you know the game Doom?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
So scientists have taught a petri dish of brain cells to play Doom.
Really?
So there's no person. It's just a petri dish of a bunch of brain cells. And this happened about 3 or 4 years ago, but they've been tracking it and they've just went public with the results. In 2022, Cortical Labs, the team that taught a petri dish full of 800,000 brain cells connected to a computer how to play 1970s game Pong, has now, after that, taught them to play a much more complex game in Doom. And the
It's a small controller. Really small.
Yeah. You got to put the little bitty keypad into the petri dish.
I don't know. Maybe they're mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, the crazy thing is the quote comes here. It says, Doom is chaos. It's 3D. It has enemies. It needs to explore its environment, and it's hard, Cortical Labs said. To bridge that gap, we need to translate the digital world of Doom into the biological language of neurons, which is electricity. So Doom was not just chosen for its complexity, but also for being an internet favorite, which everybody knew. And while there's still a lot of work left to do on this, the exciting thing is they're saying that we've solved the interface problem. We have a way to interact with these cells in real time and train them and shape their behavior to do things even like play Doom.
It's curious. Like, do the cells realize that it's a game that they're playing, or is that their reality?
That is a really good question because I don't know that these guys even know the answer to that question. The only thing that they can confirm is that the cells are learning to play it better as they go.
Gosh,
Oh,
that's
really?
better than
They
me.
improve.
They improve playing the game.
How do we know they're just not lying to us and they're not actually playing the game?
The cells or the scientists?
The scientists.
I don't know. I mean, this
They're
is
in the
published-
background with the controller.
Yeah.
Look at him go.
Published in a few different journals. So if you want to question the journals, we can absolutely do that.
Yeah, I think that's, it's not the first time. Did you know that they accuse the sign language interpreter for Helen Keller to be lying the whole time?
I have heard that recently, but I didn't know if there's any truth to it.
People do believe, and I can't remember her name right now, but they just accuse her as being the interpreter, just making up things of what Helen Keller was saying to make it look like more of a spectacle.
This is the teacher that taught Helen Keller?
I can't remember her name either.
They made a whole, everything about her.
Oh, yeah. She's a hero.
What if it was all a scam, which kind of like these little brain cell things playing Doom? This is what it reminds me of.
Well, the reason that I thought this was interesting enough to report is because apparently they did confirm the Pong version of this. So they confirmed, these cells have learned to play Pong, and now they're basically taking the next step. But it's very scary because what it implies is kind of a bioengineered AI that's different and possibly better and can learn quicker than regular AI, because you're taking human brain matter that's not alive. I mean, it's not dead, but it's not alive and sentient in the way that we would describe it, and manipulating it to do tasks.
Yeah. It's a neural net processor.
It is, it's exactly right, Brad.
A learning computer.
That's right. So weird and slightly scary story there to start Wiggins America and the Monday Roundup. How about this one? Tell me if this is scary or exciting. I don't know which. President Donald Trump enthusiastically endorsed a report today that the FBI has now sieged a large tranche of election records from Maricopa County, Arizona.
Oh,
here we
Largest
go.
county in the state, move signaling the feds have expanded their investigation into voter fraud during the 2020 election. Now, I'm reading this from Yahoo News, but Just the News, and John Solomon is reporting that the reason that they got this, and it's another one that were just like in Fulton County of Georgia, which they did about a month and a half, 2 months ago, they seized the election records from the 2020 election there. They had to get a judge to approve that. In this case, they had to get a grand jury to approve the case. Now it's all sealed, so we don't know what exactly they had to show a grand jury to say, we as the FBI have probable cause to seize the election records from Maricopa County. But that grand jury saw whatever they presented and agreed and said, yes, you do have the right to do that. You should do that. Here you go. And they granted access to it. But again, as I was saying, Just the News and John Solomon are saying that it was that the grand jury report had to do with the 2024 election, not the 2020 election. So I'm getting conflicting reports based on who you read here, because Yahoo News is saying that it's related to 2020. John Solomon's saying it's related to 2024, but I'll continue to watch and see what that is. I'll monitor the situation. Thank you very much. But big news there in terms of election integrity related to, because as you all know, probably the FBI/DOJ is suing multiple states for their election records, and some are blocking it. And in these two cases, they're just going in and seizing them with jury approval.
You know, in some states, they're blocking it in defiance of the Civil Rights Act, by the way. But keep in mind, when it comes to contesting and bringing up fraud in elections, Donald Trump's stance has been pretty consistent, even before the 2016 election, where he said these things are going on. Even though he won 2016, he still wanted to investigate there too. So it's not like a modern thing, as people try to make it sound like, oh, he's just trying to interfere with the midterms. No, this has been his thing for a long time. Steve Moore, co-founder of the Committee for Prosperity, coming up next on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw. When we meet our clients for the first time, they have built up a lifetime of savings. Their question is, what can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? First, we develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. Then we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money.
You've earned it, and it's our job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call us now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. You will also get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. We've been helping retirees and pre-retirees retire with confidence for 40 years. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Triton Exteriors, St. Louis roofing, siding, and gutter systems. We'll take care of you and your home. We're #1 in the Ladue, Kirkwood, and Webster area. James Hardy certified. Visit triton.stl.com to be connected with a James Hardy expert and receive a free estimate. Triton-stl.com or call 314-717-1159. That's 314-717-1159. Triton Exteriors, St. Louis #1 James Hardy specialists. What if every time you spent money, you saved money too? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can do just that. Every debit card purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar, and the spare change goes right into your savings. And here's the best part. Together Credit Union boosts your progress by matching qualifying savings up to $8 a month. It's a free checking account that helps you achieve more automatically. Learn more, or better yet, enroll today at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union. Federally insured by NCUA.
If you live in Missouri, have Medicaid, and need a caregiver, this message is important. Care at home is personal. That's why you may not want a stranger in your home to take care of you. You want someone who already knows you and your daily routines. With Freedom Care, you choose a trusted family member, a friend, or a neighbor. They will get paid after every shift to care for you, and it's 100% free to you. More than 70,000 people have already joined the Freedom Care family. Call your local Freedom Care. They'll check your Medicaid eligibility. Don't wait until a stranger shows up at your door. If you have Medicaid and need help at home, this care is available 100% free to you. Call Freedom Care now to see if you qualify. 314-343-1362. 314-343-1362. That's 314-343-1362.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
There's pain at the pump.
I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. A gallon of regular gas in the U.S. spiking 48 cents over the past week to $3.47 in the AAA average after Operation Epic Fury began targeting Iran.
It's crazy high. Between my husband's truck and my car, we're well over $300 a month in gas.
This as oil prices surge, topping $100 a barrel earlier for both the international standard and in the U.S. before pulling back.
We have so much oil and gas right now in the world. It's just a matter of getting at it.
Fox Business's David Asman says travel through the critical Strait of Hormuz remains an issue.
Markets are very fragile in the oil business because there are trades within trades within trades. And a lot of promises that have been made for oil delivery now are being put off. That's what's causing the problem.
President Trump says it's too soon to talk about seizing Iranian oil. Also just telling NBC he thinks Iran made a big mistake by naming the slain Supreme Leader's son to succeed him. Meantime, the president posting he plans to hold a news conference later today in Florida before heading back to D.C. Two men accused of throwing explosive devices during a weekend protest outside the New York City mayor's official residence now face multiple federal charges.
They are now charged with attempted provision of material support and resources to a designated foreign terrorist organization, use of a weapon of mass destruction, transportation of explosive materials, interstate transportation and receipt of explosives, and unlawful possession of destructive devices.
Fox's CB Cotton, both suspects due in federal court, suspected of being ISIS-inspired. The U.S. Attorney General posting ISIS's poisonous anti-American ideology will not be allowed to threaten this nation. America is listening to Fox News.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion? That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Solid springtime going through the afternoon. Sunny and windy from the south. 79, 80. Clear sky. 70s for evening plans. Only 61 for the overnight low. Tuesday, partly sunny, windy. Some scattered rain and thunderstorms developing. Mid to late day, 82 degrees. That continues into Tuesday night. Best chance for some strong storms will be 7 p.m. Tuesday to 7 a.m. Wednesday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The Annie Fry Show is sponsored by Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Time to schedule your air conditioner service. Get not just your AC, but your entire HVAC system checked for $19 a month with the preferred partner plan. And be ready for the first heat wave. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Annie Fry, Ryan Wiggins, Brad Rain.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
For the sake, kid, keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. If you want to find me online at Ryan Recker or Ryan Recker Radio on Facebook. Joining us now, co-founder of the Committee for Prosperity, also a former economic advisor to President Donald Trump, Steve Moore. Hello, sir.
Good to be with you. Thank you. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. I think a lot of people are wondering what's going to happen when it comes to high oil prices. They're worried not only about what they put into their own vehicle, but the cost of goods and services going up. Do you think this is going to be a long-term problem?
I hope not. I think everybody's hoping that it's going to be a short-term problem. Not all. Trump said today he thought it would be a matter of weeks before we see this spike up in oil prices and the supply chain problems ending. But who knows? I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the Middle East? It's always such a quagmire over there, and hopefully we will be able to do our business, get out of there, and restore, the world oil situation, so we're not seeing, $4 a gallon gas. Look, thank goodness we are the world's number one oil and gas producer. Imagine if we had the net zero policy that the left wanted, we'd be talking about $10 a gallon gasoline. So I'm hopeful, but I don't think anybody really knows for sure how long this is going to last.
You think it's a good idea to open up the reserves at a time like this?
You mean the reserves in this strategic reserve?
Strategic reserves, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think we'll empty the reserves, but I think we will take. That's why we have the reserves for situations like this. So we should put the oil out on the market now. It's just good business, and it'll help reduce prices, but also it's good business. You always, the first rule is, buy low, sell high. So might as well sell the oil while the price is high.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this and I'm trying to compare it to something, especially when I look at the markets the last couple of days. They're really worried about the uncertainty with this. And you saw stocks drop, stock drop. Open up today, stocks were lower, gas, oil prices were sky high. And then it kind of started to level off a little bit. And I thought, well, this is so different than the tariff thing, because the tariffs were day after day after day, 1,000-point drop, 1,000-point drop, 1,000-point drop. Here, if it's starting to settle down, to me, that indicates investors truly believe that we are probably going to be done with this sooner than later, and we're not going to have these dramatic drops.
Right. And so that is a good sign, obviously, because the markets know better than I do, because there's, wisdom in
their money
out of the market. And so that is a good sign. And, listen, I've lived through this for 40 years. I remember when I was a kid growing up in the Chicago area, and we'd have to, in the late 70s, cram in the old station wagon. You probably don't even know what a station wagon was, but, we wait there in the line for, 45 minutes to get our gas, because there were gas lines and not even tanks and all of this stuff. And so, back then, the Saudis and the OPEC countries had a kind of a blade at our neck, and they could throw the American economy into recession by just, with their control over the oil markets. Thank goodness we're much less vulnerable, but we're still vulnerable, as the current price increase is telling us, but we're much less vulnerable than we were when you had OPEC really controlling the oil market. But it's hard for them to do that when the largest producer is not part of your cartel, and that producer is the United States.
Yeah, the station wagons for me when I was growing up meant one thing: no seatbelt. Like, if you get to sit in the back of a station wagon, what a freedom it was not to have to buckle in. Can't do that anymore. It also meant you're eating McDonald's, because they're always throwing fast food to you in the back. That was also nice. Are you worried about any? I want to kind of shift gears here for a second, but I know that the latest when it comes to Anthropic and AI and some troubles with the Pentagon, maybe some spying that's going on. If we were to rewind 6 months ago, everyone said this bubble of AI is just going to pop and we're going to lose a ton of money from this. Obviously, that hasn't happened. Is there still a concern that we are overvaluing artificial intelligence, or do you think that because we've kind of weathered that storm, that it's here to stay?
Well, if I knew the answer to that question, I'd be a very, very rich man. Because, but I will tell you this, we had on our hotline the other day, this item that in February the month of February just ended, we had the largest amount of money pouring into venture capital ever. And that's investment money. And let's see, it was almost $200 billion was AI related. Mm-hmm. And it was basically OpenAI and Anthropic were the two that captured the most money. And by the way, 85% of that money was U.S. companies. So we're pretty dominant in this industry. The market's really believing that this is the next big thing. It's going to be an amazing revolution. What's happening? The changes in communications, the incredible changes that are coming in healthcare. Literally, blind people will be able to see. People will be able to climb out of their wheelchairs and walk again. I mean, this future is going to be quite spectacular. We will have driverless cars. We'll have probably in 15 years we'll have flying cars. I mean, it's amazing what is ahead in this world. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to watch the show The Jetsons, that cartoon, where the spaceships are flying all over. That's that's what it could be like, sometime soon if this revolution continues. But people also worry about it. I mean, people are nervous about losing their jobs, or, if we don't have truck drivers, what will the truck drivers do? So there's pluses and minuses here, but, this is the future, and it is going to be mostly positive for wealth and for people having a better living standard.
Yep. I will mention with the Jetsons, I remember the cartoon, and when they're flying around, there's exhaust coming from the ships, which means it's not an electric vehicle. It's definitely using a motor if there's exhaust like that.
Well, maybe these spaceships will be electric. Who knows?
Something else I want to mention about this AI, I think it was just last week, President Trump put a roundtable together with a lot of the leaders.
That was huge.
I want to just say this, because maybe you can tell me if this is the way it should work in an open economic atmosphere. So there's concerns about these data centers hogging up a bunch of energy, and then the electric energy prices are going to rise for anyone in that community because the demand's going to be so high for these centers. It's just going to cause it to be more expensive for everyone. And Donald Trump hears that concern, and he gets all the different companies together building these data centers for them to say that they'll absorb the cost so that electric costs don't go up. Is that the way it should work? Donald Trump sees a problem. He wants ultimately these data centers to be built. So he says, okay, to get past the problem, you're concerned, we'll fix that for you so there is no concern. Isn't that how it should work?
Well, exactly. And he got these for residential consumers who are worried about their electric utility bills. This is very good news, because these AI companies are going to pay more than their fair share. And so that will actually lower the prices that people pay for the utility bill, because these companies like Amazon and Meta and OpenAI are going to be paying so much for the energy. They're even building their own power plants. So this will be, I think, something that will be in the long run, and even in the medium term, very beneficial to. And by the way, I live in Virginia, in D.C., just outside the Beltway in Virginia, and we have the biggest data center in the country, right outside by Dulles Airport in Washington D.C., and it pays a lot of the taxes for that county. So, the schools and the police and the hospitals and all of that are paid for in part by the taxes. Those data centers pay over a third of all the taxes in the county.
Wow.
So they're giant tax producers. So if a data center is coming to your town, that's going to really be good for your, reducing your property taxes, reducing your utility bill, and creating huge numbers of jobs. I mean, anyone who's a union member, the unions love data centers, because they're the ones who do the construction of these projects. And so I think overall it's a good thing, but I understand people have anxieties about it. I just saw a poll that most people think that AI is a dangerous thing, not a positive thing. That's like saying, that the automobile is a dangerous thing. I mean, I think that, obviously there are positives or negatives. If you're making buggy whips before the cars came along, you probably didn't like it too much.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do admire when it comes to President Trump, he said, we're going to solve this now. If this were Joe Biden, he would have said, let's spend $1 billion on a study and we'll get back to you in 5 years after that money's been wasted.
All right, my friend. Great to be with you. Have a great week ahead.
You as well. Steve Moore, co-founder of the Committee for Prosperity and former advisor to President Donald Trump. He is great. Great. You can find him at Stephen Moore and look at some of his things on social media. Yeah, when you had the AI company sit down and said, we're just going to figure this out now, that's the way you should do it. All of these different, we're going to commission a study, and the studies, we're going to spend all this money and nothing's going to come from it, but we're going to give all this money to universities, and isn't it good for them? And then, of that $1 billion, 700 million of it's going to be unaccounted for, and no one's going to know what that's the way government normally runs. It's actually pretty refreshing to think we could just solve this now, because we don't got time to play around with this. We're not going to wait as we fall behind as a country. That's pretty good. When we come back, I wanted to play a clip from Bill Maher. This is actually really good. And we got to talk about what's going on in New York City. They have billions and billions of dollars a shortfall, and there have people running around bombing things. I mean, it's a mess, and their mayor doesn't want to call it terrorism. So there's a lot to unpack there. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Andy Fry, 97.1 FM Talk.
Hi, it's Mark Cox with Gloria Lou of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Welcome back, Gloria. For years now, you've been on 97.1 helping families plan that next big move with your Guaranteed Sold program. For those planning to sell their home this year, what's your advice for sellers?
Thank you. My advice is simple. Do your homework before listing your home. Our market is stabilizing, inventory is tightening and moving fast. In other words, the realtor you choose to sell your home really matters. That's why my sellers love my guaranteed sale program. I guarantee to sell your home at your agreed upon price and time frame, or I will buy it myself. I have thousands of buyers in my buyers in waiting database, so your home may already been sold before it's ever hit the market. Higher demand, more competition, and more money for your home.
Friends, do what I did. Call Gloria Lou right now at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree upon price and possession date.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Two sounds that can wreck your sleep. A drip and a toilet that won't stop running.
Drip, drip, all night.
Good news. We're doing plumbing now. Same folks, same care, same we do it right.
Leaky faucet, running toilet,
or a stubborn clog, call Grasser.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
When it comes to lighting, Graybar goes beyond parts and products. We help contractors turn plans into smart designs, manage kitting and deliverables, and navigate local codes so you can stay on time and on budget. Smart, scalable, job site ready. That's not just lighting. That's like kicking your project into Graybar mode. Yep, Graybar does that.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for the Doctors at Ophthalmology Associates. We call them the Doctors because they've treated more than 250 doctors, more than any other practice in St. Louis. So if you're looking for the best doctors for your best vision, it's Ophthalmology Associates. Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andy Royer. Doctors Birdie and Malhotra are cornea surgeons and experts in the diagnosis and treatment of diseases of the eye. I had an eye disease when I was younger. It left me with a silicone buckle around my right eye, so I put my trust in Ophthalmology Associates to take care of my annual checkups. Maybe you're experiencing dry eye, allergy eyes. They can help. They can help with cataracts, macular degeneration, glaucoma, and LASIK surgeries. And if you're looking for the best eye care, it's Ophthalmology Associates. Make an appointment today by calling 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com. They have a great office location just west of 270 on Manchester Road. Again, the phone number, 314-966-5000. The website, youridoc.com. Ophthalmology Associates.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm through with stand.
Who picked Nickelback? Is this an Ethan selection?
There's nothing wrong with Nickelback.
All right.
That's not what Ryan Recker said. He said,
are they going to make a comeback at some point?
They have to. Chad Kroger's the coolest guy in the entire world, according to his own lyrics.
Well, I mean, relative to other Canadians, maybe, but I mean, that's about it.
There's much worse bands that come out of Canada.
Yeah, I know. That's true. Can I mention something to you? And this is maybe one of the biggest differences between men and women. And there's a lot of differences. Don't get me wrong. But yesterday was International Women's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just read you this. Oh, boy. I'll just read you this one line. That was. Let me read you one part of the news story. Women around the globe on Sunday marked International Women's Day, taking part in marches and demonstrations that underscored efforts to combat discrimination and accelerate the drive for gender parity. Let me just say this, the difference between men and women. International Men's Day, which I don't even know exists or not, but let's say there is an International Men's Day. There is nothing I would want to do less than go out and march and protest. I want to sit and do nothing and eat a steak and watch something on TV and, sit back and, have everything taken care of me with no responsibilities. Go outside and march with a bunch of strangers and yell and scream and hold up signs sounds like the worst way to spend a day to honor yourself.
What if they took away barbecues? What if they took away your ability to grill and drink beer? Would you
fight
march?
for your right to party?
Yeah. Would you go? at where's the line? Does that become enough for you to go out and hammer the pavement for a little bit?
You can take our lives.
You'll never take our barbecue.
Do you remember in 2020 when everything was starting to get shut down and some people were putting that up on the on their marquees, their businesses, saying, "Hey, no, we still have a right to party. The Beastie Boys fought a war for this."
That's right, they did. The intergalactic war. They fought for it all for us. That is hilarious. Well, I saw that and immediately thought, what a miserable way to spend a day. Like, this sounds the worst. Absolute worst. Well, hopefully they were able to pat themselves on the back at the end and realize that all problems have been solved. Which I don't know if there's any local ones per se, but I have seen some of the international ones going on.
I did see one really funny joke about International Women's Day, and it was that, hey, isn't it funny that this is the one day a year that they made it just 23 hours? Like, yeah, you can get a day, but you get the shortest one.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Where's Annie? She's going to come back and say,
hopefully
right
she's
away,
not listening.
She's like, hope you're not. She's like, oh, I'm listening. All right. Well, up until now, we might have got away with it until someone's like, Dear Annie Fry, you won't believe what they talked about on the show when you were gone. Write an email out. So there's a couple of different clips. And I heard even Brian Kilmeade talking about this earlier. And whenever I hear a national show talk about something we're going to talk about, I feel a little slighted, like, I was really hoping that it would be just us. But over the weekend, Bill Maher was talking about some of the reporting on the Iran war, and he was calling out and saying they're being pretty dishonest for all of this. Can we play clip number 6?
It's interesting. The second day of the war was yesterday, as we're talking now, the new Iran war. And the New York Times headline was, U.S. troops die. That was like what they led with. Now, that is a big part of the story, that troops have died. I mean, it's kind of a bigger story than that. Okay. But then in a country where I've read 80 to 90% of the people are thrilled that the Ayatollah is gone. Mm-hmm. What picture did they put? Picture of people mourning the Ayatollah, which exists. But I can't believe that somebody at the desk didn't get, I've got a great picture of people dancing in the streets. Yeah, we're going to go with the people who, we're going to go with the 10% who are sorry the Ayatollah is dead, because that's going to funnel the thought of our readers toward, oh, this is a bad war to get into. Yeah. Now, we can talk about whether it is or it isn't, but that to me is the difference in what the media does now and what they didn't used to do. Like, you're funneling me toward an opinion, whereas I would love it if you just told me what happened.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
the
Bill
boundary
Maher.
between activism and journalism has clearly broken down.
Isn't that good? I mean, the way that he said, you're not allowing me to form an opinion, you're telling me what my opinion needs to be, is pretty much a summation of fake news in a lot of ways of what Donald Trump and them have been saying. You think that perhaps more people recognize it but don't care to say it? It's hard to tell.
The sad thing is that this has been going on so long that we forget that any other way could exist. But the average person doesn't have time. I mean, we live in this world, those of us in the studio here. But the average person doesn't have time to read deeply every single news item that goes on. We don't even have time to read that deep into every news item. I mean, there's so many. So that's where you would hopefully trust a non-biased, or at least you'd know maybe a little bit of a lean with their bias news organization to give you, well, here's what you need to know about it quickly. That's why there's headlines. That's why there's subheads, because maybe you don't have time to read the whole thing. They could gain so much more credibility by doing little things. So just stuff like this, where it's obvious that the majority of the country, with an 80-20 issue or a 90-10 issue, just show what the majority is experiencing in a place that we'll never go. I'm not going to be in Iran. I don't know what's happening on the ground in Iran. So I need the AP or whoever to show me what's happening, but I can't trust them. So sometimes they probably are giving me a decent report, but I can't trust you because half the time you're not, and I don't know which half is which.
Yeah.
You see the story, was it last week? It was the CBS reporter, local reporter out of Austin, who was on the scene at one of these different rallies. It became a big viral sensation. It was Vinny Martirano, and he's a multimedia journalist. He's out, and it's so interesting because he's out there covering, here's what's going on in Austin after the bombings in Iran, and how are people reacting to it. And he's out there, and apparently he gets a text message from his news director, that said, we don't want you to focus that they are happy that Donald Trump is doing this. Going back to what Bill Maher mentioned, hey, this is like 80-90% are praising that this is happening, getting rid of the Ayatollah. And he reads this and he's like, well, I'm going to report it anyway, because this is what they're doing. He was told by his superiors not to show that people were happy about this, that people were out there cheering the actions of Donald Trump. Instead, he said, I've been told not to do it. I'm going to do it anyway, right? I'm going to show exactly what's happening here. That's fantastic. I mean, universally, they're praising him for not taking that direction, because he wanted to have some integrity and show the truth of what was happening. Bill Maher is saying the same thing. Why don't they have more of that? Why isn't that the commonplace anymore?
Yeah, and it's, I think that example of that journalist who got the text while he was getting ready to report, that'll look bad. That'll look good for Trump if you do that, whatever it was like, that's such an egregious example that we're all like shocked, like, oh my gosh, see, we told you so. But most of the time it's more subtle than that, but it's still just as real. Just like this story that Bill Maher's bringing up about Iran. You know, they did report something that was really happening, so it wasn't false, but it was very much painting a false picture.
And we've talked about this in the past too. It's not just what gets reported; it's what doesn't get reported. And that example of that reporter in Austin or wherever that was an example of them trying not to show something that was happening. And you guys said it. Good for him for saying, "Well, I'm gonna," and he did it anyway. But yeah, I mean, like, people are out there trying to motivate, manipulate you, change the way you think, all of that other stuff. So it's so unfortunate that there's no journalistic integrity anymore.
Let me mention this as an example. Going back to the Biden administration, I'll put a general, again, there's always nuance to it, but a general statement together. And you tell me if you generally agree with it, strongly, neutral, whatever. The mainstream media wanted to report on what the Biden administration wanted them to report on. And they mostly went along with it. That's generally speaking, that probably what's happened. Going to New York City, and imagine if the reporters in there were only going to report on what Mamdani told them they were allowed to report on and the stances that they were taking. What a different story would be told in New York City today, where they're throwing bombs and their budget shortfalls in the billions of dollars and what they're going to have to do to try to make up for it. Imagine if, let's say, the media in New York City, who's ferocious, by the way. They are ferocious. We'll put it that way. They showed that, what is it, the Daily Bugle and the one news boss that is trying to tell Spider-Man what to do. They're all that ferocious.
J. Jonah Jameson.
That's exactly it. Imagine if they just went along like the national media did during the Biden administration to just say, well, if they're telling us this, then we're just going to take it at face value and we're going to report on that. We're not going to look any further into it because we don't want to anger that administration, because we might lose access to them or not allowed to, the little times they are allowed to report on them openly. So kind of something similar is going on in New York City right now. And I wanted to talk about that because there's so many problems, including the mayor refusing to condemn these ISIS-inspired bombs that are being thrown. It's unbelievable. So we're going to talk about that coming up after the break. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Andy Fry on 97.1 FM Talk.
Air Comfort Service online at aircomfortservice.com. We are really close to spring, and I am super pumped to be talking about that. But you never know what kind of weather is going to hit us, and you never know, of course, it's going to be at the most inconvenient time possible when that HVAC system goes out. Air Comfort Service, they're the number that you are going to want to call. They're there to guide you and make sure that you have quick service. You're back in your comfort zone in no time. Call 314-513-0091. That's 314-513-0091. They offer 24/7 emergency service. You're going to be able to rely on them to get there, to get the job done right the first time, and to get you back up and running in your comfort zone without any type of worry whatsoever. Give them a call at 314-513-0091. They know there's never a time that's good for your heat or air conditioning to go out, and they know it's not the number you want to call, but you do need to have somebody who you can trust. And for us at the Fry Home, it's Air Comfort Service. 314-513-0091, aircomfortservice.com.
There's one thing I really want to say to Donald Trump. If you come for my people, you come through me.
That was Pritzker's challenge to President Trump. But who are Pritzker's people? They're the more than 1,700 illegal alien predators he helped escape from ICE. They're the illegal aliens whose health care, rent, and college tuition you pay for. You can't afford to stay because Pritzker makes you pay for his people. Well, I have a message for you, Governor. I'll be coming for you and going through you. Your days and the days of sanctuary living for your people are over. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
Vote for Ted Dabrowski on March 17th.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
When it comes to planning your retirement, there's a lot to think about. Portfolio management, tax planning, and retirement income just to get started. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group focus on those things and more. Their goal is to help you achieve your goals. Call 636-230-8824 or online, yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IBW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
Do you remember when we were going to have a Jimmy Fallon show and then it snowed like crazy on that Saturday night and we had to move the show back? Well, the new date is April 11th. So if you want to get tickets, you can, but you can also win them all this week on all of our shows. Mark Cox, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon giving away a pair of tickets every single show, every single day this week. Ours will be almost an hour from right now. So you can stick around. You can come back at about this time in the 2 o'clock hour, and we'll give you a chance to win Jimmy Fallon tickets for the factory on April 11th. So lots of chances this week. 1:33. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
From Ellisville to Glen Carbon, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You can probably tell, based on the way I joke around International Women's Day, that I'm easily put into the doghouse at home. So I have a story that I want to bring up next hour that I could use your help with, guys. I don't know if I can dig myself out here. I know it's not looking good. So,
well, if there's anybody that can help you out of that doghouse, it's Ryan and I. That's exactly who I would go to.
That's exactly who I am going to.
Iron sharpens iron, Ryan.
Yep.
That's right. How's the YouTube live chat poll going, by the way?
I haven't looked at the results. We typically try not to throughout the show so that it doesn't sway our opinion.
Yeah, It's going pretty good, though. I mean, we got plenty of votes.
Okay, good.
Want more.
Do you support Trump blocking all bills until Save America voter ID passes? So that's a yes or no question on the YouTube live poll. You can do that right there. All right, a couple of things to get to. Apparently, there is a $5.4 billion shortfall in New York City's budget. Okay, not great. Who would have thought that the socialist mayor comes in and says, we're just going to, I don't know, tax people to death, that people that supply most of the base of your taxes would leave to avoid that you would show up with billions of dollars of shortfalls, number one. Or number two, that you start to supply an outrageous amount of services that you can't afford, and then you run up a giant tab for those services you can't afford, and now you have to pay for them somehow. And you're, $5 and nearly $500 million in the shortfall side. But it doesn't help that over the weekend, you probably saw this, Mayor Mamdani on Monday refused to condemn the pair of alleged ISIS-loving radical Islamists who were charged with tossing IEDs, improvised explosive devices, near Gracie Mansion during an anti-Muslim protest on Saturday. So they were caught, and there's video of it, there's pictures of it. They tossed these things because allegedly the ones that were caught building and throwing these things wanted to disrupt those that were not pro-Iran, in the sense that supporting the leadership in Iran that's trying to get overthrown. They were very upset with the United States. So they go in there and during the protest want to try to bomb people, literally what terrorists do. And the mayor of the city could very easily go out and condemn these as terrorist acts, but he refuses to do so, nor does he want to name the suspects in this case. What does that tell you?
Yeah, this is a really, really interesting topic, because I saw this tweet, and I actually saw Matt Walsh retweeted it, so you can imagine what he had to say about it. But so Jake Lang is one of the leaders of the protest against Islam in America. He has made it his cause. He used to be a J6 prisoner, and he had no trial, though. For 4 years, he was in jail with no trial. And when he was in jail, I actually had him on my show once or twice to talk about why he hadn't had a trial yet. But anyway, he's out now. He's been pardoned, and now he has made it his cause to do Islam in America awareness and protests and things like that. And he's a rabble-rouser for sure. And he was and I guess leading, in a way, this protest in New York. Well, Mamdani called him out by name, called out the protesters, and then that's it. He vaguely referenced violence being bad, and I think he maybe mentioned bombing, but he did not say the names of the bombers. He didn't say their motive. And so it's funny that even in the tweet itself, Mamdani is really proving the point of Jake Lang and the anti-Islam protesters, that there's a bias and that there is people leading the country in a direction that is not traditionally acceptable to Western values, which is the way of Islam. So that just the fact that he tweeted that, was amazing to me, because you just proved the point, my man.
Yeah. That's pretty bad.
Too, Fox right now is showing the video of what was in the bomb. It's not like these were like harmless smoke bombs or flashbangs or anything like that. These were shrapnel bombs. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. There's self-tapping screws bolts, and stuff like that. The idea of these bombs were to maim and to kill. That was the purpose. And one of the videos I saw, the bomber with the longer hair basically threw the bomb right at the feet of some NYPD officers and then jumped over the little retaining fence and tried to escape. I don't understand why the mayor cannot come out and absolutely 100% condemn this.
I can understand. I mean, to me, this proves everything that's been said about him and his critics. This literally plays out to what people that have been critical of him saying, that he sympathizes with these type of individuals, the ones that are, let me put it this way. You have two sides here. You have, let's say, people that own businesses and have a high income, and on the other side, you have people that are making improvised explosives and throwing them at police and protesters. There's one side that he refuses to come out and talk against, and then there's another side that he will not stop talk against until they drive him to leave. So at this point, during the pandemic in 2020, so many people left New York City because of just so anti-business. They said, I can't even make a living in here anymore. The amount of restrictions and lockdowns that you put in, these small businesses, they couldn't survive, plus the taxes on top of it, they decided to leave. What's the point of staying in New York City right now? And when you have a leader like this that has proven time and time again that he's not going to side with you, he's going to side with the people that are set up for these entitlement programs, people that are out there creating improvised explosives and not condemning that. To me, this is not what New York City normally stands for. The fact that they voted for him still shocks me. And going back to the shortfall, $5.5 billion shortfall, how's he going to make that money up, honestly? It's going to go back on default. We're going to tax you until you're dead, like until you own nothing. It's going to be the only way that they're going to be able to get off of that, because there's not going to be a bunch of people supporting him coming in and saying, we're going to step up and we're going to make things better. We're going to bring our businesses here, and this is going to have a big economic impact. We're going to help. We're going to do this. No one wants any part of him or the city right now.
It's crazy to me that the only solution that these people have is to tax more rather than to spend less, rather than to make cuts. You're $5 billion short. If I'm $500 short in my budget, I got to find where I can cut $500 out of what I'm trying to spend in my budget. You don't have to tax people into oblivion. You have to realize we don't have the money to do everything that we're trying to do, and therefore we need to cut programs, not create more taxes and force people and take their money.
Yeah. One of the great ideas, by the way, he said, you know what we can do to make up some money? We are going to take away free parking, any spots that may be free. So that'll help. Do you think that'll fix it? Oh, and dynamic pricing. So we're going to start surge pricing because everyone loves that.
Surge
that'll
pricing for what?
Parking and just driving through New York. Remember that was one of the big things. If they're going to start metering you, if they see you driving through the busy areas, kind of like they do on the highways, they're going to start just sending you a bill for it. Surge pricing. They got it. Listen, they got it under control there.
I figured.
Is that an example of it could always be worse? We could be New York City right now. And what sane person would want to move to New York? You remember all the different movies in the 80s and 90s? They'll pack up everything they own in a suitcase and they want to make it big, and they got to go to the Big Apple to prove that they are the best at what they do, and they're going to show the world what they're made of. Who in their right mind would want to go on that journey today and saying, we want to go to New York City to show us what we're made of? No one that I know of. And most people here, that's not the dream of theirs anymore. Dreams have changed an awful lot in the last couple of years. And this pretty much cements, like, if you're going to a big city, you're going to LA at this point. Forget New York City.
Oh, I was going to say,
LA's bad.
I was going to say the exact opposite. I was going to say, I think New York, because of the media industry, the news media industry, is doing just slightly better than Hollywood, because Hollywood's done this already. I mean, they are already way down this road. Their whole industry, and like you said, Ryan, pack up your suitcase. I'm going to go out. I'm going to try to become a star in L.A. That's gone. I mean, that is just gone.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. Because the movie industry in general is hurting, and the movie industry has moved out of L.A. mostly for better, not climates, but better political and money climates.
Yeah.
But yeah, LA's a mess, and New York is right on the precipice. I mean, they've already been doing this for a while, but now you're going to see it accelerate, just like we're all saying over and over again. Once you start down the death spiral, you don't go, oh, well, we're going to expand the programs. Well, how do you pay for it? Well, I'm going to tax the rich. Well, then the rich leave. Well, then who's left?
Yeah.
Well, you got less tax base. It just happens over and over.
Yep. I think we got a clip from the New York PD Commissioner, Jessica Tisch, I believe her name is, clip 11.
I can confirm this morning that this is being investigated as an act of ISIS-inspired terrorism. I can also provide some additional information. We were beginning to conduct preliminary analysis of two devices that were ignited and deployed earlier that day, one in a crosswalk on East End Avenue and East 87th Street, and the other on the west side of East End Avenue between East 86th and East 87th Streets. That testing was performed by the NYPD's bomb squad and FBI special agent bomb technicians in consultation with an FBI chemist.
Remember back in like the 70s, there'd have like vigilantism in big cities like New York, and like who's the guy that did the subways? He does like a radio program and ran for mayor.
Curtis Sliwa.
Sliwa, he was a big part of like, okay, we're just going to ride the subways and monitor for people that are going to, have problems. There was, people, death wish was a big thing. If you remember in the 1970s where, people are like the thought of you're going to have to defend yourself and you're going to be looked at as the enemy for doing that because the police don't want you doing it. Do you think this is just going to bring a rise in people taking things into their own hands if this is what the mayor is backing in New York City?
I just don't know. I don't know how quick that's the whole thing is that when Mamdani was elected, we didn't know how quickly you'd see the death spiral because socialism in general will just cause a financial death spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's also adding these weird cultural things where he's pushing far leftism while also pushing Islam. And those two things are at odds, which is very strange. So he's a weird guy and he's pushing this stuff so fast that you don't know whether you're going to see, because I made the case, look, it could be at the end of his term that you finally see his policies really start to take their toll on New York. But I've been wrong because they've moved so fast. So yeah, like you're saying, it could be, that the next time there's some bombing or something, that person was inspired by the fact that, well, nobody really cared. Now the federal government cares and they've gone after him. So that may be a deterrent, but Mamdani doesn't.
Yep. Well, we're going to have to take a break, but coming up after, forget New York City. I think I found the way Mamdani eats cereal, which I want to talk about after the break. I'm Ryan Recker filling in for the Annie Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Mark Cox here. Join me for the annual Lincoln Trump Day dinner with the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, March 20th at Old Hickory Golf Club. Enjoy dinner, great guests, and a gun raffle. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com. If you have a leaky basement, water in your basement, you've experienced it maybe for the first time with all the rain that we've had set in, you've got a problem, but I do have a solution for you. That solution is at HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com. I want you to understand that when you work with somebody who is an expert, like decades-long expert of restoring your basement back to the way it's supposed to be, like first and foremost, waterproofed, of course, but even more than that, one that's secure, that's sturdy, that's going to, for the rest of time, keep that water out. You want Home Shield Foundation Repair, this local business headed up by Matt Hayes. These are the people you can trust, and many other St. Louisans on both sides of the river have trusted Matt Hayes to fix that wet basement problem that you are looking at right now. The number to call is 314-271-9900. That's 314-271-9900. Reach out to Matt Hayes and ask him to come check out that leaky basement situation that you're dealing with. HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-491-9914. 800-491-9914. That's 800-491-9914.
Annie Fry is St. Louis conservative.
Womp bom loom bom 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 to the boot, oh root, to the boot, oh root, to the boot, oh root, to the boot, oh root.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. I want to get your thoughts on this, since it is the Manny Fry Show. On a scale of 1 to 10, how fancy would you say I am?
You?
Yep, 1 being not fancy at all, 10 being very fancy.
Maybe
like la-di-da.
Let's see, what are you wearing today? A collar?
He's got a collared shirt on.
Okay, I'll give you a 6.
Oh, man, that's higher than I thought you'd say.
6.5.
Okay.
I don't like that. I feel more pride in a low number.
clean shaven, nice collared shirt.
Yeah.
Well, right now I am.
Yeah.
I had to shave for church yesterday. Oh, please don't add something onto it for that. Yeah, when I go to church, I shave once a week on Sundays for that, and that's it. And this is the outfit I wore to church, by the way. I feel like if I'm only in it for a couple of hours, I can rewear it on Monday when no one else has seen me.
I got you.
It.
I do the same thing.
Slept in it.
Yeah.
Do you? No, I mean, it immediately comes off when I get back to the house, much like, okay, now it's time for the sweatpants to return. And here I am. Okay, 6.5. There is a YouTuber, an etiquette expert, William Hansen, who revealed the proper way to eat cereal. Now, this is probably the fanciest way I've ever seen anyone eat cereal in my entire life. And you'd be thinking to yourself right now, how possibly could you eat cereal in a fancy way? This is clip number 13.
Here's how to eat breakfast cereal. First of all, add your milk of choice. I'm going for semi. And then, with a spoon held in your dominant hand and the fork in your non-dominant hand, you will eat. Now, it's not soup, so you don't need to scoop away from you like you would with soup, but you can use the fork to push some corned flakes onto your spoon and eat accordingly.
Number one, he called it breakfast cereal instead of just cereal. I already hate the guy.
Corn flakes.
Imagine bringing a fork into the equation trying to eat cereal.
Why do you have to push soup away when you spoon it?
Etiquette.
I always do it towards me.
You're pulling it to your mouth to eat the soup.
4.5.
Why do you? No, seriously. That's the thing that confused me the most.
You know what? I vaguely remember my mom telling me that, but I never understood why. But you're supposed to scoop soup away. I think it's so you don't splash it onto your clothing. So if it does come out of the bowl, it goes out away from you, not onto your nice attire.
You know how I eat soup and cereal? So you get the bowl straight to the mouth.
Yep. Yep. And it's just slurping down the sides of your face.
They make a tumbler for that. It's a tumbler. It's got two separate areas. One is for milk, and then the center part is for your cereal. You dump the dry cereal in, you put the milk around the outside, you close it up, and then when you're driving to work, you take a swig, and it gives you both cereal and a sip of milk. But because it's separate, it doesn't get soggy.
Yep. So he uses a fork in all of this. As the guy that does the majority of the dishes in the household, that infuriates me probably more than anything else. You bring in a utensil that is totally unnecessary just for me to end up washing it. Or now you take it out of rotation and you're going to end up having to wash it manually as opposed to using the dishwasher because you'll run out if you don't.
Yeah, I don't like it. There's no reason to do any of this. I eat cereal like William Shatner.
Which is?
In my car.
Beam me up, Scotty. Oh,
yeah, I see. No, he did that recently. I think it was part of that campaign, though. There was a genius campaign where somebody, quote unquote, caught him eating cereal in his car, just out of a bowl, just like driving and eating out of a bowl. And somebody, it went viral and TMZ posted it and everything. Well, then it came out that he was doing an ad for Raisin Bran. So you don't know if Raisin Bran jumped on the publicity or if it was all planned. Don't know.
I love it. I had Raisin Bran yesterday. I love bran, like in general. I like crackling oat bran, Raisin Bran. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me getting older, but man, that stuff tastes good. By the way, you sent something in the group chat last night. Frank Lutz had a poll about teachers, and he's saying from a teacher's perspective, things aren't getting better.
Yeah, he's saying that, and this is based on an Education Week article that says teachers say behavior problems aren't just about students. It's about the parents. 65% of the teachers say that student behavior has gotten worse over just the past year, not few, the past year. 65% of teachers say. And then 58% say that the parents need training on teaching their kids school appropriate behavior.
As in coaching them on how to behave in public?
Yes. Just general, it would lend to this topic, general etiquette in existing in society is what they're saying. 58% of teachers say parents need to train their kids to have more appropriate public behavior.
Well, whose job is that?
It absolutely is the parents' job.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's just surprising that the number's that high. That's over 1 and 2 saying, yeah, there's a problem with the parents.
Guys is bad.
My wife, by the way, does substitute teaching, and your wives also, right? They got they understand this. Is this what they're seeing?
Well, I wouldn't say now if you were to take a poll of the kids, I wouldn't say that my wife would say that half of them need some sort of, but she also teaches at a private Christian school. So
my wife teaches honors, trig, and pre-calculus.
Okay.
These are those kids. So
back in the day, they just gave the teachers rulers, and that kept them straight. I mean, that did it. Anyone that grew up in St. Louis and went to a Catholic school back in the day, 50s, 60s, I don't know if 70s probably, but man, they got some whoopings by those nuns at the Catholic schools. And as they grew older, I think they realized I need to make sure my kid straightens up inside the classroom. Maybe that helped them a little bit. That was a way to straighten out a generation and beyond. Those nuns were really doing the Lord's work, slapping kids around.
Did anybody in our generation ever get spanked or know anybody that got spanked in school?
In school?
In
No.
school.
And I went to a Catholic school, and we had some scary nuns there.
But it never happened?
Never physical contact like that.
No, never happened either. Now, there was the threat of it. I mean, they wanted to let you believe they were capable of doing it, but they never actually followed through on it.
Yeah, we had a principal that had a paddle up in her office.
Yeah,
and it was the spanking paddle or whatever. And I never saw anybody get used, but it always scared me.
Did your paddle have holes in it so it didn't have wind resistance?
I don't remember. I think it looked more like one of those things that gets pizza out of the oven. It was just a big, wide thing.
It's effective. It's the Andy Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
This was not a random attack. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. That from the New York City Police Commissioner, as 2 men are accused of trying to bomb a protest outside the mayor's official residence, throwing 2 homemade devices. The suspects, Amir Balat and Ibrahim Qayyumi, now charged with 5 federal counts.
And as alleged, both defendants have admitted that they acted on Saturday because of ISIS.
Commissioner Jessica Tisch says preliminary tests show one device contained a highly volatile explosive used in multiple terrorist attacks over the past decade. The 2 defendants arriving in New York City from Pennsylvania only about an hour before they were arrested. The Justice Department says they talked about wanting infidels to die and an attack bigger than the Boston Marathon bombing.
These were ISIS-inspired actions. And it is chilling that they wanted to do something more than the Boston Marathon, more than 3 deaths.
U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton says violence is not protected protest or speech. Both suspects held without bail after an initial appearance in federal court on charges including using a weapon of mass destruction. The NYPD remains on heightened alert as fighting continues in the Middle East.
I think we are all seeing right now the threat that this clerical regime poses to the region and to the world.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the Iranian regime is trying to hold the world hostage.
They are attacking their neighbors. They are attacking neighboring countries, their energy infrastructure, their civilian population. They're attacking embassies. This is a terrorist government.
Iran naming the hardline son of the slain Ayatollah as the new supreme leader. President Trump telling NBC he thinks that's a mistake. He plans a news conference later today as oil and gas prices keep spiking, with another dignified transfer ceremony planned after a 7th U.S. service member died from injuries. America is listening to Fox News.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Oh, boy. I'm in trouble, guys. I don't know what to do. When I'm in trouble and I'm in the doghouse, I have to turn to, as you say, Ryan Wiggins. Iron sharpens iron. So I go to Ryan Wiggins and Brad Range, and here we are. I'm going to have to tell you, maybe I thought I was being smart. As it turns out, I am not that intelligent.
We'll fix it. Don't worry about it.
All right. I was set up, and my wife asked me a question. It was a setup. It was absolutely a setup where I don't know if there is a right answer to it. I thought I was giving the best answer I possibly could, but it landed me in the doghouse. Maybe you guys can help me get out. Oh, by the way, we do have a YouTube poll up on YouTube. How's that going?
It's going good. Lots of votes coming in.
Yeah, the question is, do you support Trump blocking all bills until the Save America Voter ID Act passes?
Yep. Okay, yes or no. It's an easy one. We'll get the results here at the end of this hour. So we were watching a TV show. It was Paradise on Hulu. Have you seen that one?
No.
Mm-mm.
So it's interesting. The premise of the show is there is a worldwide catastrophe, natural event that happens that wipes out a lot of the population. And it's from the perspective of the Secret Service agents and the president as they flee to Colorado to get to the bunker to try to save themselves from this worldwide catastrophic.
There you go.
Disaster. So it's really interesting. There's an episode that shows exactly hour by hour, step by step, how the government would react if something like this would happen. It was really fascinating. So as it so happens in this show, and this is a minor spoiler, it's not going to ruin it for anyone because they set it up in the first episode, the Secret Service agent is separated from his wife because she was gone. He was serving the president, and they had to get out of here, and she couldn't get to them in time to get on the plane to go to safety. So he goes, and she has to stay. They get there, and we're watching the show, and my wife says, if I were dead and you were to remarry, what type of woman do you think she would be?
Ooh.
How do you answer that without getting in trouble, honestly?
You say that's almost impossible because my standard is now too high. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank
That was really
you.
good. That's not what I said. I said
some hot 24-year-old.
No, but in my mind, I thought, don't comment anything on looks because that would be the worst thing to say in a situation like this. So I said, if I comment on anything else, then it might come off as funny. But this is what I said.
Okay.
I said, probably someone, when I message them what's for dinner, they won't say sloppy joes.
Does your wife make a lot of sloppy joes?
Yeah, she does for the kids and stuff.
Dang, I'm not even complaining.
I thought that was
sloppy joes sound good.
So
what's
she
the problem?
Says, you mean a better cook? Are you saying you don't like my cooking? And then it went down this road and in the doghouse because of it. And I don't know how to get out because at this point, anytime anything happens, she'll be like, oh, you mean like my cooking? She'll throw it back at my face. And it's been a week of that. And I don't see any end in sight. And I don't know how to get out of it.
Does she want you to fail when she asks that, or is she genuinely asking?
I think that she kind of knew I would fail. I think she set me up to fail for her own entertainment and then was genuinely shocked when I had an answer.
You know what you should do? And this is like debate broadcaster secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
You just turn the question. Instead of, I'm going to answer the question, you go, who do you think I would or should marry? Because I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it. Or who would you marry?
Who would you want me to marry, as if she would have something to say after she's gone?
Who would you want me to, or who would you marry if I died?
Yeah. And, I could throw it back at her. I could say something that's like, we all know I'm going first between the two of us. So it's a question you're going to have to answer for yourself because I ain't going to be around forever. And I'm going first. I could say something like that. Maybe that would have been a better answer.
I think you
to throw it back at her.
I think you lean in. I think you go full on, hit every button that you know, and make it as ridiculous as possible. Like
I'm
like
glad
whatever
you've asked.
like whatever your wife's hair color is, I think I'd marry somebody with the opposite hair color.
Yeah.
Just a little bit different. Somebody maybe a little taller or a little bit shorter or whatever, and just start nitpicking, but make it so absurd that she knows that you were joking.
And it's funny you say that because I think about this a lot. And just don't look at my search history.
I got just the lady.
I can show her to you.
Do you have
her
a
up
neighbor?
on Facebook.
Do you have a neighbor or somebody? It's like, oh yeah, Jenny from across the street. I'd marry her.
Oh man, you're gonna get me in even more trouble.
Do that today, and then let us know how it happened.
Yeah, tell us how it went.
Okay. Okay, I'll try one more time. Like, we'll be watching a show, and there's another show we really got into. Reggie Dinkins. Have you heard of that one?
That's with Tracy Morgan?
Yes.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's fantastic. It's so good. Oh, I'd recommend you guys to watch it. There's 3 episodes out, I think, on, is it NBC Peacock?
Okay.
So the first episode sets everything up. Even 2 and 3, there's we just watched the 3rd episode. It is so funny. If you like 30 Rock, something like that, it's so good. It's like that. It's like going back into the 2000s when that type of comedy was kind of still fresh. And the way that they pull it off, it is so good. So maybe when we're watching, if I see an opportunity on any show that we're like catching up on right now, I'll try to rehash that. Is that a good idea to rehash things that she's mad about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you probably should do that.
Just keep bringing it back up till it has no effect whatsoever.
Yeah, until she's dulled.
What are we having for dinner? Sloppy Joes.
Oh, great. Here we go again.
Yeah. Hey, what was this poll you found, Wiggins, by the way, about a wife should always obey her husband? What was that about?
Let me pull that up.
It's an interesting question.
So,
to come up.
they did a poll, and this is Ipsos. It's a pretty big polling company, actually, if you've not heard of them. They asked the question, or they made a statement, and the statement was, a wife should always obey her husband.
Mm.
And then they asked men of each age, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, whether they agreed or disagreed with that statement.
Mm.
And they asked women, same thing, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, whether they agreed with that statement. The highest propensity of people who agreed was Gen Z.
Really? Whoa. What's the age on that? That's younger, isn't it?
So that's got to be under 20. No, it would be
Ethan's Gen Z.
25 and under or thereabouts.
Yeah.
It says born 1997 to 2012.
Okay. Yeah, so a little over 25.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the youngest generation, which would be, I guess, now in their mid to late 20s. Through, what was the higher end when they were born?
97 to 2012.
2012, okay.
Yeah.
So these are people who are very much in the dating market right now and
Really?
looking to get married. And so, of course, more men agreed with the statement than women, but overall, that was the highest propensity was men age, or Gen Z. But it was still only 31%, but that's pretty high. And then females, 18% agreed with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
The next highest, millennials.
Oh, okay.
So you just go down the line, and then males were 29%, females 19%. And then it really drops off when you go to Gen X and baby boomers, although still 21% of male Gen Xers said they agreed, and only 13% of male baby boomers agreed.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny because like these disaster shows, like I just mentioned, this Paradise that's on Hulu, whenever there's a big giant disaster that happens and, you know, Walking Dead or, you know, something that changes society forever. You know what my wife said? She's watching this Paradise. She's like, you know what you notice is that the wives that don't listen to their husbands when there's like an apocalyptic type of event are the ones that always die off first.
Do they? I never noticed that.
She's like, there's always like, I'm going to go do it my way and never ends well. You have to be a team. That's what she's realized in apocalypse situations. So she said, if something like that ever happens, I'll do whatever you ask because I know that's how we have a better chance of survival.
Oh, man, I got to go watch for that trope.
Doesn't sound like you're in the doghouse, Ryan. Sounds like you're in pretty good shape.
That's
a lot of trust there.
That is a lot of trust.
Do
right.
you personally now? This is maybe a good X's and Y's question for tomorrow. But when you're watching something with your spouse, and say it's something like apocalyptic like that, or something worldwide, big event happening, do you put yourself in the scenario every single time? Because I know that my wife does.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that was a male-female thing. I mean, I kind of, envision a little bit, but I also am like, that's just a TV show. I'm not going to encounter any zombies. So I don't really play out the full scenario anymore. But my wife absolutely does.
No, my wife's definitely. She becomes a prepper whenever she watches shows like that. And she'll say, you know what, I just ordered another case of Spam just in case. She'll say things like that. A bag of rice. I just felt the need to go buy a bag of rice.
We've talked about this on the show before, and I don't know what it is. It's got to be psychological that people who prep, who I think sometimes are very wise in doing so, but there's this thing where you got to put it in the basement. Like all this stuff, it's got to be put somewhere else. And I sometimes say to my wife when she's like, oh, we should probably get, if we watch some show like that, she's like, oh, we should get supplies, And I'm like, well, just open the cabinet. Like we have so much non-perishable food right there that what's the specific tragedy that you're preparing for that, yes, we have food, but it has to be in the basement for us to use it.
Tornado.
Yep. That's the only thing I can come up with is if it. But then, listen. You also would have to be in your basement for a really long period of time and not able to get out, but still be able to live in your basement and cook food sometimes.
Yes,
that's
or
a very specific scenario.
Eat it out of a can.
You could do that, but
I mean, because in that scenario, it's a possibility that your house falls on you.
But that's a very
A, they got to figure out that you're there, and then B, dig you out.
That's my point. It's a very narrow band of tragedy that would have to happen for that to work.
Yeah.
Tell me, based on the current world events, you're not thinking about things like that in the back of your mind, like maybe I don't have enough prepared for an emergency just in case.
Well,
doesn't that cross your mind more now than before?
Yes, but it was after COVID. Once 2020 hit, I think the whole world started thinking that way.
That's true.
And so it's almost as if I'm kind of burned out of thinking that way, and I'm trying to go back to thinking, look, if it didn't happen then, I'm not saying it can't happen, but I need to stop worrying about it and coming up with worst case scenarios all the time and get back to the business of living. And some people are going to think that I'm stupid for doing so, but I think that I'm just kind of on the tail end of the hyperbolic curve of that, where I've already gone through the 7 stages of grief.
Yeah. Well, thank you for helping me get out of the doghouse. I'll let you know leaning into it how that worked out for me.
You're not out yet, man.
I know, but I'll tell you, all of your advice, if I take it, I'm sure I'll be out of it very quickly, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. So I'll just thank you right up front for definitely not making it worse on any means. Coming up after the break, and some other things. Did you see how the World Baseball Classic was ruined by insurance, which is a real fascinating read as some journalists are starting to break this. We'll talk about that coming up, and catalytic converter thefts are back all of a sudden. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in on 97.1 FM Talk.
Retirement Advisory Group online at retirementkey.com. A quick number to reach them to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement review, 314-993-9494. Stop wondering if you have enough to retire comfortably and call the experts to make the plan that guides you into that worry-free retirement. That's what you've been dreaming about this whole time. You've worked your tail off to enjoy retirement and to not have to worry about how much money you're going to have at the end of the month. You can work with the Retirement Advisory Group to ensure that you're going to be okay. Here's how it works. Call them at 314-993-9494. That's 314-993-9494 and set up a no-obligation review of your retirement. It's a free meeting. You sit down, you learn what they can do for you. They learn what you've already got in store, and they give you the tips and tricks you need to get on your way to that worry-free retirement. It doesn't cost you anything for that initial meeting, so schedule it today. 314-993-9494 online at retirementkey.com.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Home power used to be simple. Now the car plugs in, the scooter plugs in, the space heater plugs in, and your electric panel starts popping.
That sounds bad, but I like popcorn.
Popcorn is great, sparks are not. Call Grasser. We'll upgrade your panel so you can run it all.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
Start the new year off on a healthier note by taking active liver supplements from New Nordic every day. Available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com or at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meijer Grocery, or Wegmans.
The Annie Fry Show is St. Louis conservative.
I get this mixed up. Is this NSYNC or is this Backstreet Boys?
Ryan?
I'm going to guess NSYNC.
You're right. It's NSYNC.
Oh, nice.
I just rang my own bell as if I knew.
Very good. You know, I met a member of NSYNC once. Lance Bass.
I was going to say, I bet it was Lance Bass.
How did you know?
Why? Why pick him?
Everybody that I know that has met a member of NSYNC, it's always been Lance Bass.
Is it a good story?
Well, he came to my college at the time, and this is still, I mean, NSYNC was really popular. And we said, hey, since you're doing this speaking gig, would you let us interview you for the radio station? He said, sure. And here's what ended up happening. We went to the auditorium where he was giving the speech, and then afterwards we were going to get like 15 minutes with him or whatever. So we set up all our equipment in a separate area. And then basically what happened was we went to the person and they said, okay, we'll send him out. And he literally walked out into the audience and girls were screaming like it was 1960s Beatles. So we walked with him like an entourage up to the special area and girls were like fainting because he's coming through the audience. And then we went and had like a 15-minute, very pleasant, awesome interview with him.
Wow.
And that was it.
Could you imagine having that effect on somebody that you weren't attracted to?
Well, you're talking to the right person if
thank
you want to know what it's like. Ryan Wiggins makes people faint all the time.
Let me tell you that I've met a Backstreet Boy.
Was it Lance Bass?
It was not Lance Bass. It was not the Jetsons meets the Flintstones. This was AJ. I met AJ from the Backstreet Boys. I used to work at an area golf course, and I guess the Backstreet Boys were in town doing a show. This was during their prime, though. This isn't, recent Backstreet Boys playing at Pops. This is them selling out an arena. He shows up. He's got his team. He's going to play golf. And so he and his bodyguards, I guess, played around to golf, 4 of them. And I was there when he came off the course because we were the cart boys, and I was like 19. And my job was just to clean off their clubs and maybe get a tip, and they go home. So I get to clean off his clubs because I'm like, shoot, I'm getting that guy because that guy has money.
That guy's rich.
And so I did, and I don't remember if he tipped me or didn't, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't like he gave me $100.
Right.
He just gave me a normal tip if he did.
Remember.
Yeah, because I would remember. But here's what I did, though. I did ask him how he played, and he was talking about something that I'm like, there's no way that happened. He was like, like he was doing the golf thing. He was telling you, I could have had a birdie on this hole. Is that close? And all that stuff. And I'm like, he's just a dude. So, but when he got done, I went to put his cart away, and I saved literally every single thing in that cart. I'm talking, quarters and gum wrappers and
trash.
The one thing I remember having, maybe his scorecard, but I don't remember that. I had a half-smoked cigar from him. That I'm like, I'm keeping all this stuff and I'm putting it on eBay. And I did. And it went, I did.
You put the half-smoking cigar on
all
eBay.
Of it. I put it all in one little bag
sure.
and sold it all. And I think I only got like maybe $30-$40 for it, but it was great. Like, this is
$30.
I'm a genius, but that's the entirety of my
a blessing.
yeah. There you go.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, that's great. And now that's a hot ticket still when those guys go and tour.
Yeah, they are doing pretty well on their reunion tours.
All those bands from there. I don't know if you saw this. So the World Baseball Classic's going on, and you have a bunch of, I guess, international teams that are scrimmaging during spring training with some other clubs. And Team USA is looking really good, as they always do. There was a story that broke, and I can't remember exactly who broke it, but it was something that just came out that apparently the World Baseball Classic, if you're wondering why some of the big names are not on the rosters, it's because of the insurance policy that they took out on these players. Have you seen this story?
No, I haven't. This is interesting.
It's really fascinating. So the idea is Major League Baseball said, we don't want our players getting hurt in this tournament. So they said, okay, what we'll do is we'll insure the players. If they get hurt, we will pay for their salary. So you're not out of pocket for sending your players. It was like maybe 2 or 3 years worth of salary. So they're like, okay, that sounds good. But then since insurance and, you look at these giant contracts that are being signed by some, they said, okay, there's some players that are just uninsurable. If they were hurt the year before for a certain amount of games, or if they're too risky or this or that, they can't afford to insure them. So we're not going to send our players because there's no guarantee. So that's apparently this insurance policy that is World Baseball Classic has to abide by. I think we have a clip from this. Is this clip number 12?
Yes.
Yeah, this is clip 12.
World Baseball Classic is starting this week, but now there's a new wrinkle with insurance. And insurance has been a big, I'm not going to curse on this episode, but insurance sucks, dude. Jose Altuve, he's out. Jose Alvarado for Venezuela, both for Venezuela, he's out. Miguel Rojas is out. Carlos Narvaez out. Mike Trout out. Carlos Correa out. Francisco Lindor out. Jose Barrios out. Victor Carantina, Ivan Herrera, Jack Leiter, Jose Urquidy, Eli Morgan. Those are the guys who are out. Baseball Classic started in 2006. MLB basically wanted to make a tournament, World Cup of Baseball. But team owners were like, well, if you're going to use our players in the World Baseball Classic, what's in it for us? What if our players get hurt? So MLB basically said, if one of your players gets hurt in the World Baseball Classic, we will pay for your salary. MLB got insurance to undercut this. What they do is basically they insure the players. MLB pays the insurance company, and if a player gets hurt, the insurance company pays the team.
Yeah. So it's an insurance thing that some of these players, they can't play for their country in this giant tournament because they could be susceptible or too risky to injury during all of that. Doesn't that seem to ruin everything?
Well, that makes sense once you see the paperwork of it. But isn't he saying there that the MLB figured out a workaround? That he's not.
No. So those players are playing because the insurance company said, no, those players can't play because they're too high of a risk of a player.
But then what he's saying is the MLB was going to come in and offer additional insurance.
No, so MLB made the initial, like when they first theorized or came up with the World Baseball Classic, MLB said, or the teams came to the MLB, said, what happens if our players get hurt? Well, MLB said, we will pay their salaries if they get hurt. And then MLB goes, well, we're not paying that out of pocket, so we'll get an insurance policy on that. So that
Major League Baseball, not the individual teams, the league.
Right. Okay. So now the league is looking at this, and these players are wanting to go in, and the insurance company's like, we're not insuring. Ivan Herrera is a Cardinals player. He had some injuries last year. He's too injury prone. We're not going to insure him because it's a high likelihood we'll have to pay out on that.
Oh, so it's the insurance that MLB was buying that's backfiring. Okay.
And it's the teams that they don't want to be left holding the bag with their big star player is out because they were allowed to go play in this tournament as opposed to just wait for the spring and play for their own team. So apparently this has been going on, I think, for a little bit now, and no one's really known about it. It's kind of a breaking, let's go behind the curtain and figure out why some of these different players are not representing their countries right now when it's a really exciting time to do so. Tell me that's like, that is the business anymore. And with the skyrocketing salaries, I understand it. That to me is just kind of sad too, because it takes away from the game itself. The kind of the joy of when you're a kid and you're like, oh, I want to go play for my country, but I can't be that good because then they won't let me.
Right. This was like the joy of watching the old All-Star games where you, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is before interleague play. You get to see guys that never interacted playing against each other. It was super cool. But this is the kind of thing that you think they have to figure this out. It's too cool of an event for them to just completely miss out on it. Like everybody got to get in a room, talk it out, and figure it out. You can do it.
Well, you look at the Olympics and the hockey tournament out there, and I mean, Jack Hughes went out there and got his face smashed in with a hockey stick. There's a high potential for injury there, and the NHL figured out a way to get United States stars out there, Canadian stars out there, Finnish stars, all of these world stars, so that they could display their product for the world to see. And they're struggling with it because their best Francisco Lindor is a big name to not be out there. Mike Trout is a big name to not be out there. So it's really kind of shocking that the MLB can't get these players out there because of something like insurance.
Yeah, it's a shame. But I wonder, Olympics, is it going to be like that too? I mean, when you send professional players to play basketball or hockey, like you mentioned, I think they're going to start flag football, and they even talked about putting some pros in there. They're not going to let the pros play. And from a standpoint of a team, if you're going to spend $100 million on someone with a giant contract, you don't want that to go up in flames because of a tournament that means nothing to your organization per se. You're getting more star power of your player playing in it than you're getting back in return. So that's just fascinating. It's just one of those stories you're like, wow, this is a whole different world that I never knew existed.
You know what I think? It's all about the money. That's what I think about these people. They just care about the money, you guys. I think I figured it out.
Is it all about the money to you?
It's not about the game anymore. It used to be about the love of the game, and it's just not.
Yeah, it used to be.
That's right. That's right. All right, you're listening to the Annie Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high-quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRD.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
Hey guys, are you dealing with low energy, weight gain, or issues in the bedroom? Game Day Men's Health is the premier men's health clinic in the St. Louis area with locations in Chesterfield and O'Fallon, Missouri. They specialize in low testosterone and sexual health, and they also help men and women with medical weight loss, vitamins, and peptides. They offer free consultations and testosterone tests with results in about 20 minutes. Get in, get answers, get back to the top of your game. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Again, that's GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Flame Bearers goes beyond scores to bring real stories from women Olympians and Paralympians who've beat the odds. Hear from legends like Sue Bird, Caster Semenya, and more about what it takes to be a champion. Tune into Flame Bearers wherever you get your podcasts.
We all have different ideas of the perfect retirement, but they all depend on the same thing, not running out of money. And preparing for retirement can sometimes be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Find out how to build your retirement on your terms.
What are your wishes, hopes, and dreams? What's retirement look like for you? Because everybody, that picture is different.
Join host Steve All for the All Financial Hour, Saturday mornings at 6 or Saturday afternoon at 4, here on 97.1 FM Talk.
You can feel the Clydesdales circling the field. Hear the stands come alive. Smell the hot dogs, the popcorn, and cold beer in the air. See the crowd rise as the first pitch hits the glove. And just like that, a new season begins. The countdown is on until opening day, and tickets start at just $49. Don't miss St. Louis's favorite holiday. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/opening day.
Cardinals single-game tickets are now on sale for the 2026 season. The schedule delivers big-time matchups, including weekend series against the Cubs and Dodgers, and visits from the Boston Red Sox. Add in a promotions calendar stacked with fan favorites like all-new giveaways, a Hawaiian short and shirt set, golf-inspired hat, dark mode jersey, and a whole lot more. It's Busch Stadium at its best all season long. Lock in your seats today at Cardinals.com.
At Graybar, we know your time is money. That's why our services go beyond parts and products. With kitting, pre-assembly, wire carts, and Graybar smart reels that keep you moving. We stage materials and manage logistics so you can spend less time sorting and more time installing. And with locations nationwide, we deliver when and where you need it, working to make your job easier every step of the way. Yep, Graybar does that.
All right, guys, now is the time because Jimmy Fallon is coming to town on April 11th. That's about a month away, and Jimmy Fallon is really looking forward to it. I know because we've had to wait extra long for it after the snow out. But here's the number to call if you want to win free tickets to that show. It's 314-241-9797. 314-241-9797. Be the 9th caller. You will win a pair of tickets to see Jimmy Fallon on April 11th. It is 2:34. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Bold takes, real talk, no apologies. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Feeling pretty good considering we lost an hour of sleep over the weekend. There's an article on the Hill. The first sentence of this article. Why do we still observe daylight saving time? I like that question. I would say, is that your low-hanging fruit radio topic for talk shows today? Like, is that it? Does it get any easier when it comes to like lazy topics?
That's a good question. The answer is no. It is the laziest topic. However, it is also a pretty interesting topic. I got to admit. I mean, we were debating it at home, so I know if we're talking about it in the living room, it's a good topic.
Yeah. In the sports world, the laziest topic is the Mount Rushmore of whatever thing. So what are the top 4 things of what? That is by far, when I don't have anything else to talk about, but I know I need something that could be engaging, the Mount Rushmore of something sports related. Mount Rushmore of pitchers in Detroit history, or the Mount Rushmore of St. Louis hockey Blues players,
Still pretty interesting. Now I kind of want to know.
That's right.
Who's the Mount Rushmore of best Pittsburgh Penguins ever?
Yeah. Radio. How about St. Louis radio, Mount Rushmore? So let's something else I noticed. Jesse Jackson Jr. just really, I don't want to use the word slamming, but going out and saying, hey, Obama, hey, Clinton, hey, Biden, I told you not to do this, man. And you went out and did it anyway when it came out and made your speech political for my father's funeral. And he has a right to be angry about that. I mean, he knew that, of course, people are going to be broadcasting this, and he wanted to make sure his father's was honored in the proper way, much like a family member would. He wants there to be civility. He wants there to be reverence. He wants there to be, memories, and it wants to be about him. So what did the former presidents do? Clinton, Biden, and Obama? They made it about Trump in some ways. And then in Biden's case, chastised the audience for being, what was it, dumber than him? What did Biden say? Something along those lines? So,
I read about it, but I didn't see it. So, yeah, I've heard about that.
What was it? I think Joe Biden said something along. Don't quote me on this.
You're not as smart as me.
You're not as smart as me. Yeah, that's essentially what he says to the crowd. So, of course, Jesse Jackson's son comes out and says, "Come on, man, don't do this. Why did you do this?" And not to say that if Donald Trump was there, he wouldn't have done the same thing. He probably would have. They would have taken that stage and used it for their own way. I'm here to tell you that. If, like, let's say I go first, kind of like I told my wife, I'm going to be, if anyone's going first, it's going to be me. And let's say, Ryan Wiggins, I wanted you to say a few words at my funeral. I would not want you to start talking politics during that. Could I just lay that out now?
Yeah, you can.
Not that you'll be asked to conduct anything.
Oh, I thought you were asking, but okay.
Okay. It's like, it's imminent. If you could book a play now, it's not looking good for me.
Wow.
But with that, in radio, because you are someone that, is a public speaker, do you feel like people ask you at a higher proportion to say things during events like this, like memorials, funerals, things like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that something?
And it's okay. I'm okay with that.
I'm not okay with that.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think I'm worthy to do those sort of things. Particularly, it would almost have to be I would have to know the person very well. But the thing is, they'll ask you to do it even if you don't know the person well.
I guess I haven't run into that. Yeah,
No.
It's somebody who I know, and they say, "Well, you're a public speaker, so can you speak?" I'm usually okay with that.
I have had to,
but I have not had the other
perform funeral services for people that I didn't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why did they ask you? Is that like a side gig of
well,
yours?
I am ordained I'm a minister, and I can do weddings and funerals and stuff like that. And some people don't have a church background, and they'll be like, hey, you're a minister. Can you do this funeral for us? Because we don't really know who else to turn to, and we kind of know you.
Oh, wow. What's that like? Do you do research?
Do research. You talk to the families. One of the things, though, is when you do a celebration of life, you really want to make it about the individual that passed away. Mm-hmm. And so while I will have a small sermon, one of the things I really like to do is find family members that want to tell fun, happy stories of joyful stories and meaningful stories about the person and their life and things that they'll miss about them, and actually give them the opportunity to eulogize their deceased loved one rather than me go up there who has no idea who this person is, so you become more of a MC rather than the person delivering the eulogy or anything like that.
So you don't make it about how lousy Pritzker is during that time?
No, I don't. But I think when I pass away, I think I want Ryan Wiggins to come to my funeral and deliver a message about how lousy J.B. Pritzker is.
I'll be like, specifically. Yeah, I'll be like, Brad's dead, but he's still voting. It's Illinois, am I right?
Yeah. Listen, he didn't vote for Pritzker. He's not going to do it in death either.
That's how you know. That's how you would know. Okay, so I saw that story, and that's getting some some coverage.
You know what? Good for him for coming out.
Yeah, good for him to say that.
I mean, he made the point prior to those three came in, did it anyway, and then afterwards he's like, "What are you guys doing?"
Well, apparently his son, the same man, he came out and said, we need to make sure there's some ground rules with this because we understand this would last for 5 straight days if we had no ground rules. So you have to keep it to a certain time or we're sending the hook out like the Oscars. We're going to start playing you off the stage. So he's like, he knows what's up. Like the people would take a half hour, an hour if they gave him that much time to do it. But he knows that that's just not possible. So there's been funerals like that where it just goes on indefinitely forever and ever. They have musical performances and things like that. You see this other story? Catalytic converter theft is back. I didn't know it went away, but apparently it's popular again.
No, I don't. Well, this is Brad territory, so let's hear it.
Are you saying that you like to rip off people's catalytic converters for fun too?
He just likes stealing.
As
in general,
ordained minister,
bit of a kleptomaniac. It's a curse.
So while he's performing, he's like, "Okay, I'm going to try to stretch this out. Get all the cars you can onto the parking lot as fast as you can." Like your accomplices are out there just ripping people off. It says after a few quiet years, there are warning signs that catalytic converter thefts are back on the job. And apparently there's crime sprees in California, Minnesota, Tennessee, where they're being targeted for these metals and the precious metals that come with it. And then they're showing up at junkyards, things like that. Kind of like that one bust on the Central West End. Someone steals it and tries to scrap it.
I found it on the side of the road. It's got fresh cut marks on it, sir.
I know.
Totally didn't cut it off.
Totally didn't. It says the price of the precious metal that's inside of it, I don't even want to try to pronounce it, $12,000 an ounce at the end of February. Wow. And that's why it's going for so much. I never would have known. Rhodium? Is that how you say it?
Rhodium, yeah.
I don't even know what that is. But apparently it's very valuable.
Here's how much I don't know about cars. Are catalytic converters standard in every car still?
They're required.
Okay. So
are gas
not
cars,
diesels, but yeah.
Okay. Not electric.
Well, they don't have exhaust.
So So they're still building cars with these. Are they still using rhodium in them?
Mm-hmm.
So how do they? If it's that much an ounce,
there's not that much.
There's got to be a tiny bit in there.
Yeah, it's just a little bit, but it acts as a catalyst to help. I think it's the fluorocarbon.
Is it fluorocarbon?
Yeah, whatever those carbon things are that go into the atmosphere and bond and make things terrible. It's supposed to capture those and burn those out.
Wow, you've got to steal a lot of catalytic converters to get that flubber out of it.
I don't know, 20 minutes to hack something off, and you get $1,200 if there's only an ounce. 12,000 an ounce. Yeah, I mean,
but it might take a while to get an ounce on something like that, though. That's kind of interesting. So watch your catalytic converters. I park on the street, so I'll let you guys know if anything happens, and hopefully it does not. But going back, we started the show talking about Iran, and I feel like anytime I don't have a TV near me, something could break. It seems like there's always something new going on in Iran. And I'm always, I guess I'm not that fearful. Can I tell you another prepper story? I've started to create, have you ever heard of mesh Mesh Core, Meshtastic. It's a network called Mesh. Does that sound familiar at all?
No.
It's a long-range radio frequency open network that's meant for
Okay.
emergencies and things like that. So anyone can access it. You just have to, put up an antenna and have the software or whatever. But it's meant for, like, let's say the grid goes down and all cell phones go down, you'd still be able to communicate with other people that have access to this network. So watching these like shows where the disasters happen, I'm like, honey, I'm going to start building this network and put a giant antenna on my house just so we have a backup call. Satellite radios are becoming much more popular too for survivalists, where you can actually get a signal. And it's pretty amazing. Some of these things that out of the box, it's not like ham radio where you have to get a license through the government, where you can just buy one of these off the shelf and use it. I also found that in ham radio, you can have a setup in an emergency situations, you're allowed to use it without a license. Emergency situations. But other than that, you're not. I'm going to start building all this stuff out in my house because I get fearful that one day, what if we do lose all cell phone coverage? Then how are you going to talk to anyone?
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. This kind of communication stuff is cool. I think my grandpa had a ham radio in his living room when I was a little kid, and I always thought it was really cool because of course, because I wasn't allowed to touch it. So anything you're forbidden is like, ooh, what is it? And I think he still used that for quite a while into my childhood, and it kind of went away for a while, and then it kind of made a resurgence. And I don't know if we're on the peak end of the resurgence now, but it was always cool.
Breaker. You got to have a cool call sign and things like that. A lot of radio people are in ham radio, and I work with people that are in it, and I think you're telling me you don't get enough at work that you want to go and talk to strangers even more. Like by the time I get home, I don't want to talk to strangers. I just want to go home and eat my sloppy joes and enjoy the rest of my night. All right, so we have the YouTube poll of the day. We have just a couple more minutes to vote. So if you haven't voted yet, hop on YouTube. What's the question for today?
It is, do you support Trump blocking all bills until the Save America Voter ID Act passes? Yes or no?
I feel like I know the answer to this one. I think the question is the margin is what I'm curious on for something like this. So we'll get the results of that coming up on the Andy Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in 97.1 FM Talk.
Jimmy Fallon. He's coming to the factory for a fun night on April 11th. Get tickets at 971talk.com or try to win them by listening to the Mark Cox Morning Show, the Andy Fry Show, and the Mark Reardon Show. All this week, one pair of tickets per show per day.
Law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities.
Opponents of this law are preying upon fear of change to lie and fearmonger.
JB and BJ are the liars and the fearmongers. They are the sickness that is killing Illinois and Illinoisans. They give sanctuary to foreign predators and sanction to domestic repeat offenders while vilifying the police. A Cook County study found 74% of criminal defendants failed to show up to court after being released under Pritzker's Safety Act. Listen to this suburban police chief.
I don't call it the Safety Act. I call it the Unsafety Act because that's what it is. I'm still waiting for somebody to explain to me where does safety come in. Who are we keeping safe here when you call it the Safety Act?
Not you. I will repeal Pritzker's purge law and end JB and BJ's killing spree before it hits you. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw. When we meet our clients for the first time, they have built up a lifetime of savings. Their question is, what can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? First, we develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. Then, we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money.
You've earned it, and it's our job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call us now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. You will also get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. We've been helping retirees and pre-retirees retire with confidence for 40 years. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal?
Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
You know, I had a change of heart on this whole speaking at a funeral thing. Ryan Wiggins, if I could just direct you at my funeral, what I would like for you to do is blame my death on someone I don't like during the funeral and really make things awkward for them. If you don't mind, I'll have to let you know closer to that event who that person may be, but I want you to make a big deal of it. I want you to say things like, I'm pretty sure this guy killed him. And I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I just know in my heart it was this person, and really start that ball rolling down the hill. That would be fantastic.
I wouldn't picture you having a lot of those kinds of enemies. So if you don't at the moment you die, can I make it some sort of international intrigue? But like, you know who killed him? Emmanuel Macron.
Just have somebody show up and stand there with glasses and everything, make sure the casket's into the ground, and then walk away. Nobody knows who they are. Black suit. Just making
I thought you were
sure.
going to say Illuminati or QAnon or something like that came after me. The stone cutters from The Simpsons are real, and they actually came
The
after.
stone cutters.
Uh-huh. Well, I would do that. You know, we had a couple of clips here we didn't get to play. There's three people I really like on CNN. I like Scott Jennings, I like Pete C, and I like Harry Enton. And you have a clip from Harry Enton.
Oh, yeah.
And for whatever reason, I like him a lot. And I like the way he talks. I like the way he breaks things down, the slang he uses. And this is regarding the Iran war and support in the military. This is clip number 4.
Overall public and those who are either currently or have served in the military. Take a look at this Fox News poll that came out during the past week. Net approval rating of the current U.S. military action against Iran. Look at that. Overall, Fox News shows a dead even split. But look at those who served in the military. Significantly higher support for the U.S. military action currently going on in Iran at plus 20 points. That should not be so much of a surprise, because take a look at how they view Trump's foreign policy overall. Again, look at those who served in the U.S. military versus overall. If you look at Trump's foreign policy overall, the net approval rating on that per Fox News, those who served in the military, they like what's going on average. Look at that. The net approval rating plus 8 points for Trump's foreign policy. But look at those overall. Way, way down there at minus 20 points. We're talking about a nearly 30-point gap between those who served in the military and overall. And this split, when it comes to those who served in the military and overall, dates back to Trump's elections, all the way back to 2016. But let's look at the 2024 numbers. Look at this. 2024 results. Those who served in the military, Trump won them by, get this, 31 points. Kamala Harris actually won all other voters by 2 points. And that means, Johnny Berman, that means that Donald Trump only won in 2024 because of support from those who served in the military.
Wow, that's a big conclusion, but still, that was a very interesting conclusion.
Yeah. And this is exactly why for 4 years under President Sleepy Joe, they tried very, very hard to woke the military.
Mm-hmm.
They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew that this was not in America's best interest to bring DEI and every possible acronym into the military. But they did know that they were losing voters there. And so they went after it hard. It was a full political play that was not in America's best interest.
I am shocked that it's a a plus 20 approval for the war in Iran from people who have served in the military, who used to serve in the military. Now, Annie mentioned this a little bit. She talked to a bunch of her friends that served in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff like that. And one of the things that she said that they told her was a lot of our people died because of Iran. So I would have thought initially, the anti-war, former military members, they would be like, let's not do this as a bad idea. I feel like maybe they want a little bit of revenge.
Oh, okay. They know who they're dealing with. They know who the enemy is, and the enemy is Iran. All right, I know we only got about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes left. Do you want to close up the poll, get some results here?
Yeah, go ahead and end this poll. So the question on the poll was, there it is do you support Trump blocking all bills until the Save America Voter ID Act passes? And with an overwhelming majority, 86% of our listeners said they support that action.
Yeah.
So,
well, I actually thought it would be closer to 90, 95% yes, but 86 is pretty big. That's a huge margin there. They want to see it. They just want to get the SAVE Act done. You think it'll happen that way? Do you think that it'll finally force the vote for some of these Republicans that don't want to vote for it?
No, I just don't. I don't think it's going to pass. I think you're going to have just a couple of squishes that kill this whole thing, because not only do they have to get rid of the filibuster, they have to actually get 50 people in the Senate to vote for it, and some of those Republican senators are barely Republicans, so I'm not sure it will pass.
Yeah, I have my doubts. I mean, I think it's what the country needs, but I just don't know that there are people with it. I think that there is an establishment class that just doesn't want to give up that power and that control that they would have, and if you passed voter ID, I think you would get a more accurate representation of what the American electorate want.
Government's still shut down right now, isn't it?
The DHS is.
Oh, DHS is, yeah. I mean, there's some services that eventually it's going to push come to shove moments. But I got to say, the last couple of shows have been so fun. The Manny Fry Show. I'll let you know if I'm out of the doghouse. I think, is Annie back tomorrow? Is that right?
Yep.
I'm not sure. All right. I'm going to be filling in for Mark Reardon next Monday and Tuesday. Looking forward to that. If you want to find me online at Ryan Recker, Ryan Recker Radio on Facebook. You guys have a great day.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Money, sponsored by Ethos.
'Tis the season for spring celebrations.